Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Booyah's right.
Hey!
Happy Hump Day. We've made it halfway through the week. It's the last week, this week before Christmas.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing my holiday sweater. It's my last show.
It's a good look.
I like that.
Now, is that an ugly Christmas sweater or just a Christmas sweater?
So this sweater I bought last year, and I wore this for my bowl game because I did the Quick Lane Bowl, which is in Detroit. I'm actually doing it again this year, next week, next day after Christmas.
Wonderful.
So I'm not wearing this one. I got a new one actually.
You got a new one.
I can't.
You'll debut it.
Yeah. Can't reveal yet, but it's
tuned into ESPN on the 26th.
26th, we're at ESPN, big ESPN at 2:00.
I mean, I think it would qualify for an ugly sweater
contest.
That'd
be a big game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah. Pitt had such a great start to the season, and
they were like 7 or 8-0
nosedive
at some point.
Toledo had an uncharacteristically bad
both those
season.
teams have had collapses.
So what do y'all? I'm gonna do a segment called White Christmas. What do white people do for Christmas?
What do we do?
Presents.
Don't ask me.
Like,
give presents.
Are you done with your gift wrapping?
Yeah.
So you're
There's a few left.
So
let me put it this way: my wife is done.
Yeah, I don't really do that.
I still have her presents to wrap.
So okay, is y'all still buying your wives gifts, right?
I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And does she tell you or give you a hint about it?
No, I'm not sure about you guys, but you're Jewish, but you do the
do
Hanukkah,
gifts, right?
You do the Hanukkah thing, right? Mm-hmm. You do the gifts every day, or
not with my, just for kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys don't give each other anything.
Not in the last couple of years. No, not
okay.
Really. No.
Listen, I'm gonna need you guys to rekindle that. Keep going.
So no, we don't really communicate what we.
I ask my daughter, "What does Mom want?"
Okay, that's
because she's plugged in,
and
she sends me links, and I'm like, "Okay, that all looks like her.
Yeah,
can't go wrong." She pays attention. She could say in July, "I really want this," and Kirsten's like, "Boop." Files it away.
Yeah. Got
it.
She has it. Mm-hmm. So I lean heavily on Kirsten. Mm-hmm. But there are links involved. Kirsten will send me links. Now, wait. I'm just learning. Is there a difference between the white and black community as to how we celebrate Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Like,
what's the biggest?
The biggest is in the black community.
It's like ask a black dude with Paul Mooney.
So like in the
No, I love these conversations because we talk about everything here.
Nobody else is having these conversations.
So we can get away with it too.
And I always try to learn something when I ask these questions. I'm not doing it in jest. I'm doing it because I've always considered that it was for the most part celebrated the same way.
So in our household when I was growing up, they had different stipulations attached to presents, right? Like it would be like, okay, if you good and you got good grades, then you can ask for what you want on your Christmas list.
So you really had to be nice.
So you had to be like a good boy to actually gain access to the list?
To gain access
but
to
I like that.
Write
That's
the list
incentive
down.
driven.
I'm not buying that's a black and white thing.
They'd be like, boy,
no,
listen.
because look at all the Christmas specials. They say he sees when
Naughty
you're
or
sleeping.
nice.
He knows when you're awake.
Boy,
he knows when you've been bad or good.
And then, but here's the thing too. We got learned, and we learned very quickly that Santa Claus. We got learned. See, we went with it. We went all the way ghetto with it.
Yeah,
we got learned early that Santa Claus. No white dude is buying you gifts. Your father's buying these gifts.
He didn't want to give up the credit.
He gets full credit for this. Ain't no dude coming down the chimney.
So you never in your life thought that there was a North Pole and elves that made presents?
They got rid of that like 3. They just ripped
I'm
the
glad that it
Band-Aid
was
off.
G. Bush that just ruined it for the kids and not the Jewish guy.
They ripped the Band-Aid off. They're like, listen, you know Christmas is coming. I will take all them toys back. You be like, dang, bro, 3 years old, right?
That's interesting.
And so, and then another thing too, and maybe it's just me, in our household, if you got like one big thing, like you could have got one of them electric cars. Remember the V8 electric cars?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Like there would be always times when we would get these things and be like, but you didn't get the battery though. you got to buy the battery separately, bro. And you found out the hard way that toy was not working.
Battery's not included.
Battery's not included.
Now, did you have to wait till the next Christmas to get those, or did you have to wait till the stores open?
No, you had to wait till the store opened back up until Walmart was in place. And then you got to wait till and then by then, Christmas over.
And the joy of it's gone.
The joy is gone, and they tell you, oh, we got to wait till that next paycheck. That's 2 weeks from now.
But then it's like 2 Christmases, because when you finally get them on January 9th, it's like Christmas again.
There you go. You finally get to use your present.
You can't just look at it. You can play with it.
You'd be just sitting around looking at it in the corner like, this is crazy. This is wild, man.
I do remember the disappointment of opening a really cool toy on Christmas, and my parents, it didn't happen very often, but a few times where we didn't have the proper battery, or they got the wrong size. They got the C's. And or they got the not the
double
D's,
A instead of the triple A.
Big letdown.
And you're like totally screwed.
And then if you then here what we did, we all meet over so we got 2 different meeting houses. You usually got your house, and then you go over to your grandmother's house.
Sure.
Right.
So you get to your grandmother's house, all your cousins is there.
And you get more presents, maybe.
Maybe.
See,
but if you don't get presents, some of your cousins didn't get nothing. So you had to take your toys over
so they could play with yours.
And your mama hit you with, now listen, you let your cousin play with that toy.
Share your car.
You be like, but I just got my car today. Why? Yeah, you be going crazy.
And see, what I do now when I give presents to my son, I don't even wrap them. Because we ordered them all through Amazon. They're in boxes. The wrapping is a waste of time. My son doesn't care about the wrapping.
Tradition. Yeah, it's a tradition.
Well, you're sort of trying to. Hold on.
He stripped it.
I do not wrap it. My wife will still wrap
He's straight raw dogs Christmas. Here's an Amazon box.
So I guess what? The Jewish guy did ruin Christmas.
Yeah. At least they told me there was no Santa, but I had wrapping paper.
You know what, though? I give Bull credit because, think about it. Bull is celebrating a tradition that's outside of his culture and religion, and probably your upbringing, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
Yeah, no.
And so,
but the gifts part of Christmas is very secular. It has nothing to do with the freaking Christianity.
Well, some say it does.
I don't know. I think the gifts for both Christmas and Hanukkah are just made up. The gift part of it.
Well,
they're religious holidays. They're not supposed to be about gifts, but you know.
My take on it.
Yeah.
The gift
I
is
think the
Jesus.
whole idea of Christmas is to learn to give.
Yes.
Now, when you're a kid, you don't think that way. You're like, I want a racetrack, I want a G.I. Joe, I want all these things.
Yeah.
But as you age, to me, the beauty of Christmas
season of giving.
It's the season of giving, not receiving.
That's true.
Yes.
And I agree with that.
Yes, I agree with that. And you know what the great part about? Shout out to my dad. He used to always make us my mom and dad used to always make us save our money and then go buy our parents each other something for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it taught you it's just not all about taking. And the best Christmas I ever had is one year we adopted a family, right? And so
we do that annually. It's the best part of Christmas for me right now.
And it was great, but at first I didn't like it. I said, "How is poor people adopted?"
How do you do that, by the way? I need to do that.
So
I've been thinking about that.
I will hook you up with the lady
Yeah.
woman that my wife graduated high school with is probably one of the most saintly people I know.
I need saintly people
in
in my life.
Everything she does is for other people.
Great.
And when we moved back, her and my wife were having a conversation, and my wife said, we'd love to we usually do something with either Big Brothers Big Sisters, or Channel 3 has a lot of organizations that we help with. But this one is a little special. The only thing that I regret, and it almost makes it sound like it's more self-serving that this is the part of it I miss, we don't get to see or meet the family.
Yeah, that's the
which
part.
I really miss, and with the Channel 3 organization that we help with, we do. We actually distribute the gifts,
That's cool.
And I got to tell you, the joy of watching these kids, who the one we work with, these are all foster kids, and they have nothing.
Wow!
And they're not going to have Christmas if a family doesn't adopt them. Man. Now, what my wife learned is the family that we're helping this year, they have 2 boys, and I thought this was the sweetest thing. And if you talk about learning the spirit of giving and how powerful it is and what it means, 2 boys, younger one I believe is around 8. I think the older one's 12 or 13. We got this long list, complete with explanations. A lot of shoes. And the high-end shoes, okay?
Man.
But here's what I tell my wife. She's like, wow, it seems like there would be cheaper shoes. I go, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. These will be this young man's prized possession.
For sure.
And it's temporary because he's going to grow out of them.
Right.
My wife likes to buy them a half size bigger. so they can use them longer.
Smart.
I wouldn't like it if I was getting it, but I'm sure they don't care. One year we gave a pair to a kid, and we had him put them on when we were there, and they were too small. And we knew they were too small. And my wife kept saying, I don't know, your toe is right at the end.
He wasn't giving them shoes back.
He's like, they're fine.
Get them off of them.
They're fine.
And my wife, when we left, she's like, this pains my heart because I know that they're going to be painful, and he's either going to suffer through it.
I'd want to go buy him another pair, another half size bigger.
Well, that's what we're doing now. We get them bigger.
I love that.
But this was the cutest thing, and if you talk about at what age you learn that it is about giving, the 12-year-old didn't make a list. The 8-year-old put things on his list that he thought his brother would want. And even explained it in there because he wanted cologne. And my wife said, that's interesting. But later when she got down the note, she said, the cologne is for my older brother who really doesn't want to ask for anything.
The cologne.
Breaks your heart.
He's a young G. Bush.
Young G. Bush.
I love to meet this young man.
Listen, I that's the thing for me. I would so love to meet these boys.
Man.
But that's not the way it works. The presents are wrapped. We're dropping them, I think, in Parma later this week. And all that we get out of it is the knowledge that somebody that otherwise was not going to have a Christmas, they have no parents, they have nobody that cares for them enough to buy them presents. That is heartbreaking because I look back at, no matter whether you were wealthy or I grew up middle class and one of 5 siblings, there weren't a lot of Christmas presents around our tree. We got things that we didn't need, which was atypical for us. During the year, we got what we needed, and that was it. But for Christmas, we got things that we didn't need that we wanted. And that was special for us. And the thought of young kids having to look around in culture and see on social media how we've objectified everything in successes, things, and objects. And for them to have nothing and get nothing is absolutely something that it tears me apart. I hate it.
Well, I'll tell you, all this sappy stuff, the best part of Christmas for me is eating Chinese food. That's the highlight.
Is that your tradition? Do you order Chinese every Christmas?
Go to any Chinese restaurant, it'll be packed.
Yeah, they're open.
So my game is on the 26th, which means I've got to go to Detroit on Christmas night.
Oh, no.
So my tradition, this is the third time.
Go find the Jewish neighborhood and get Chinese food.
I've done this game now. This is my third time day after Christmas game, and so I found this little Chinese spot in Detroit that I'll get
nice.
Late night snack. I'll watch a little the NFL on Christmas.
It's hard being away from family at Christmas.
I know,
man.
it stinks, but I'll be fine. I mean, it's an easy drive, 2 hours. I mean, I'll be with my family all day, and then I'm actually taking my son with me this year. Me and homeboy are going up to Motown.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Anybody that wants the information, I'll get them the information from the organization.
Please.
It's a bare bones organization. It's not like this huge overhead and infrastructure. It's this woman and some friends that
we'll talk offline about it.
Yes, I'll get that info to you, and any viewers that want it, we can pass it along to you guys. It doesn't have to be hundreds of dollars of gifts. It could be whatever it is. It's something that they otherwise wouldn't have received. So.
All right, we'll get that information out, but let's dive into our first topic today, guys. It's brought to us by FanDuel. You can tackle all your NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We have talked quarterbacks, specifically Browns quarterbacks, all week. Let's talk about a quarterback who is not currently on the Browns, but maybe on their Christmas wish list if Kevin Stefanski had his choice. Kirk Cousins was benched yesterday by the Atlanta Falcons. Real quick, the numbers, financially speaking, from Atlanta's standpoint, which then could tie us back to Cleveland. If the Falcons release him without a post-June 1st designation, they owe him $27.5 million fully guaranteed and have a $65 million dead cap hit for next year. If they release him pre-March 1st with a post-June 1st designation, that same dead cash hit, $65 million, gets spread over 2 years. If they trade him, the team acquiring him takes on his $27.5 million guaranteed salary. That's the same cap hit. But he has to approve it because he has a no-trade clause, which means potentially he'd be open to reunion with Kevin Stefanski if he wanted. Those two worked together in Minnesota when Stefanski was the offensive coordinator and Cousins was the head coach. Guys, would you be interested in potentially bringing Kirk Cousins to Cleveland as a bridge quarterback option in 2025?
Nope.
Wow, that was quick.
No, I didn't think this was a serious question.
Especially the cap hit, like anybody's going to trade for him.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
somebody would sign him if he got cut and you could pay a minimum.
If you could get him the Russell Wilson way, sure. Like,
but nobody's taking on $27.5 million.
No chance, and certainly the Cleveland Browns are not.
He'll be 37 next year.
No.
For the trading team, it would be 27.
Guys,
no. He'll be 37.
He'll be 30. Yeah, right.
Guys, he got benched because he stinks. Right?
Yeah, right.
He's old and he's not playing well. He's not playing good football right now.
Yeah.
The Browns are not going to take on another $27 million. They already got 72, and they're going to pay $100 million next year in cap space to quarterbacks
who are not good.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, I did a little deep dive. I was listening to Pat McAfee, and he had Dan Orlovsky on. And if you close your eyes and you just did a blind survey and listened to what they were talking about, didn't know the quarterback, you would think that they were talking about Jameis Winston, because he said right now he's not seeing the field well.
Leads the NFL in interceptions.
Leads the interceptions. And on top of that, he just doesn't have the same sort of confidence to put the football. He doesn't believe what his eyes are telling him. He's not really mobile in the pocket because he's still coming off that ankle injury. Mm-hmm. The offensive line isn't really that good. And they're not running play action, which is what Kirk Cousins is traditionally great at. And he also talked about him being slow processing because they're doing a lot of traditional shotgun stuff where if you're not using play action to kind of freeze linebackers and throw the spaces, you got to be able to diagnose the coverage and get rid of the ball in a timely manner. And his arm doesn't seem to be as strong as it once was. He never had the greatest arm. So, I mean, that sounds like Jameis Winston. Actually, that's kind of sound like Deshaun Watson. And I don't know if you want to go and you owe Watson money. You got Winston here and you just sat him down for DTR. I'm not sure that's the biggest need or the biggest free agent name that you can get. But you look at it, if you squint real hard because you talk yourself into it on name brand recognition and the fact that
not at $27 million.
No, if they cut him,
you told me they could sign him for 1 year, $5 million next year.
If they cut him,
all right, you could talk me into it as a bridge quarterback,
maybe, but
not trading for him.
But I think the only way I would do it is if Kevin Stefanski is calling plays. I think Kevin Stefanski would be fine with him because
Kevin Stefanski may be calling plays again next year.
Does
anyone think that Dorsey's coming back?
Who knows at this point? I don't know.
I wouldn't. I would rather them go back to what they was running because
I would too. I would rather to return to Stefanski calling plays. I think we talked about this earlier in the week, but when you compare Josh Allen today to Josh Allen when Dorsey was his play caller, it's like it's unbelievable the difference. He's almost washed the interceptions out of his game, and he's playing, I think, at the top of his game. I think he's maximized it. And what you want out of the offensive coordinator is to whoever you have at quarterback to get them at their best. And I think we all agree that Jameis, although he started at his best, quickly regressed to the mean and is now playing as bad a football as he's ever played in terms of giving the ball away. I'm with you, Bull. If they release him, then it's going to be I saved this window on my phone because actually I was preparing for the show this morning, and I was thinking about that. And on my email, on my computer, a box came up, and it said top suitors for
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. And here they are, the top 5. This is on CBS. Seattle Seahawks, number 1, is think that Geno Smith is ready to move on. I don't know that you would trade in Geno Smith for Kirk Cousins.
Doesn't make much sense.
They're the same guy. Tennessee Titans at 4, New Orleans Saints at 3, Colts at 2, Browns at number 1. And in their explanation, what they say is at the very last line is if he's willing to take a minimum deal.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But now there would be other suitors for him, and that might drive the price up a little bit. But to your point, there's so many different figures bouncing around on what the hit is going to be the next 2 years for Deshaun Watson. I saw one place 170 million.
70 for next year.
Okay, I saw 170 million for the next 2.
So it depends on how if the Browns were to cut him.
They're not going to cut him.
No, they're not going to cut him.
So then if they don't cut him, then next year his cap hit is 72 and the year after it's 72. The 170 you saw is the
And
dead
that's if
cap
they
hit
don't
if they cut him.
redo the contract
Okay.
again.
Okay.
Yes. The 170 is dead cap if they were to cut him right now.
Right.
Got it. So most likely it would be 72 million. 72? 70?
Yeah.
72.
72 million?
Although Jason thinks they're going to restructure again.
And they may.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about that last night.
Yeah.
Someone who is an owner of a professional sports team, and I asked, would that be smart? And his answer, without even batting an eyelash, is no. You want to get out of this hell as fast as you can. They're pushing more money down the road only extends the misery. Get out of it. Take the hit. It's going to be 2 years, and move on. That's just his opinion.
Yeah.
He's familiar.
There
with
is
these
still
issues.
a cap hit, I believe, in year 3, but it's not huge.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But let's just assume that
Yeah.
for next year.
Cap hit in year 3 is only $9 million.
Okay,
that's
yeah,
it.
that's
It's
doable.
nothing.
Let's just say that it's $72 million for next year. By all indications, that's what it
Yeah.
would be. If you had to take that contract and take on the $27 million, that means that you would have $99 million. The cap next year is expected to be $265 to $275.
Yeah.
For the purposes
Jay,
of
actually,
this,
let me amend your number. It's actually $72.9 million. So
Okay,
when you had
so-
Kirk Cousins, 27.
be $100 million.
you're
100
exactly
million.
$100 million.
100.2.
But that's
100
nobody.
million.
No
So-
team in football is taking that. No
No.
team in football is trading for
Well,
him.
in fact, when you just look at how punitive Watson's contract is,
Right.
it's like you have 2 franchise quarterbacks that you're paying next year.
Yeah.
And if the cap is projected to be between 265 and 275. For the purpose of this, I just rounded to 270. You can't have $100 million of your $270 million cap on 2 players that are flawed. They're not Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
They're both very wildly flawed. So there's just no way they can take
No.
that on. If he's cut and they're the highest bidder, I think then it makes perfect sense as a bridge for 1 year to get whomever they draft this year ready for 26.
That's if they draft someone. There may
Well,
may
the
not be
thought
anybody
is-
worthy of drafting.
No, but the thought is they have to draft someone.
Yeah,
they
you're
don't
gonna
have
get
to draft
somebody
someone early.
third round, fourth round, fifth
right.
round, something like
They have
that.
to draft someone.
Okay, but if you draft somebody 3rd, 4th round, the odds that they'll ever be the starter are not very good.
Well, look, the odds of them drafting anyone at quarterback and that they'll
Yeah.
be a long-time starter are not very good.
Based on
Because
their
track
history,
record has
yeah.
to figure into that.
That's
They've
true.
had the
Like
first
that.
pick. They've had first-round picks, and they're all pushing daisies right
here's
now.
Here's what I say. I said it on Ultimate Browns yesterday. I think it's imperative that they name, after the season, I think you should name a starter immediately. The worst thing I don't want to see from the Cleveland Browns is some random competition. No. Like, I'm with the owner.
But how are they supposed to do that? With who they're going to name the starter?
So here's the thing.
My fear is if that's it would be Deshaun Watson.
If you want to have this, what I would do is I would take a look and say, okay, are we going to go get Kirk Cousins if he gets cut? Is it Jameis Winston? Is it DTR? Who is it? Right?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. And you get that person and you say, this is our guy for 2025. This is what we're doing. That takes all that other guesswork out. We ain't trying to hear about Deshaun Watson. And guess what I could do? I could go plan my roster accordingly and figure out what we need.
But they can't do that until they sign that player, and that
Yes.
can't happen until March.
Well,
I think G's assuming that the guy's already on the roster.
Okay, but the only guy on the roster is DTR.
Are you suggesting DTR?
I mean, they
Well,
could
Deshaun Watson's on the roster.
no, I'm not saying Deshaun Watson. What I'm saying is if you go out and make a move, if you get a Justin Fields, right?
Right.
When did you sign Justin Fields?
March, whatever it is, 18th, something like that. I don't remember the exact date. When
So,
free agency starts.
So when free agency starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I need something by that
March
day.
12th.
March
12th.
early
Okay.
March. I need to know
Yeah.
what it is, and then we moving on. All the rest
I
of the
hear
stuff.
you. That once you sign somebody, that would make some sense. Or they could just as easily
Or-
say, hey, by that point, and I don't know why they can't say it now. It's not like you're trying to keep it a secret because you want to try to trade him. Nobody's going to trade for him. I don't know why they can't just say, hey, we're not cutting Deshaun Watson, but he will not be playing for us next year.
You could say that.
Why couldn't they? What's the downside to saying that?
I don't think, Bull, I think there's nothing standing in their way of doing that.
Yeah.
I saw, and I went back to listen to the rhetoric. Kyle Shanahan, when they had Trey Lance, he just straight up said, hey, look, we swung for the fences, we missed on it.
Boy, it'd be great to hear some like real talk like that
Yes.
out of the Browns,
Hey,
and just like we can all accept it because everybody knows what the situation is.
Missed on it.
For them just to be like, yeah, man, this was a swing and a miss. Like,
we swung.
I think we could accept that.
We thought we had something. It just didn't work out. We're going to figure out on the back end how we figure out with
And the
Deshaun.
misery. And
I think it's best for both sides to move on. And if you said that, and people like, oh, okay, now you can all move forward to a point where it's like, let's rally around this guy or what is the plan?
Because, and I think you're in agreement with this as well. If you were to ask, not that the owners should take the fan base into account on this, but if you were to ask the fans, do you want to try again with Deshaun and see that maybe there is something there, or do you want to move on from it? I think most fans now are in the position where they're like, oh no, we're moving
90%.
How could
I would
anybody
think it'd
say
be
let's
high.
give him a chance? No.
Yeah, I mean, because what would change? Now, I think that we would all agree that with Deshaun Watson, although there may have been a slight physical erosion of his ability, I think it's between the ears.
Yeah, mostly.
And I could understand that. What the man's had to
And
go
why is it
through.
going to? Why is it going to change all of a sudden?
Well,
right.
To assume that this is not fixable might be a false assumption.
It might be, but is he? Do we have any clue he's doing anything to fix that? I don't know. It might be, but
that would be a no. I don't think we have any. There's no proof.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would share that if he were.
Probably
but
wouldn't.
We had heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there a report that he wasn't following through with the therapy, and that the league thought that he was never taking it seriously to begin with?
I don't remember that.
Does anybody else remember hearing that or no?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's not true.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
No, you may be
then.
right.
I just thought that there was somebody, and it may have been
Yeah.
the actual woman who was. Remember, she was investigating the case. I thought that quote came from her, where she felt there was no remorse and that he wasn't taking his therapy seriously.
All I know is that people I trust in, multiple people, have said there's no way he's coming back.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Inside the building, they're saying that clearly. So why are they not? A couple people said to me on Twitter, "Well, they can't say that now. Why?"
I don't know why they couldn't. Is there a players' association?
No. Like,
They're going to pay him. He's going to get every dime.
Well, they have to.
Because I wanted to figure out.
But don't they also have to provide him the opportunity to play if he's healthy?
No.
They don't?
Like, I just saw it. I was watching it. I said, I want to see how, like, people. I went back and revisited it. And Kyle Shanahan just said, look, he went through. It was a 2-minute clip. You go watch the clip. It's up there on Ultimate Browns. Take a look at that. Basically, he was like, listen, here's why we went after Trey. We felt like we could not get a quarterback that high. Again, we had a really good roster and a really good team. We felt we could get him, plug him in, play him a little early. Jimmy could be kind of a guy that brought him along a little slowly. Year one, we mix him in. He said the problem was he got here and got hurt. So he's behind the 8 ball a little bit. He came back next year. We knew we were going to commit to him that second year. So we named him the starter. 2 games in, he hurts his ankle. So now he's behind 2 whole years. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we had another quarterback in Brock Purdy that played well, and we made the decision that, hey, look, let's go ahead and move Trey, but we think he could be a good player somewhere else. Sometimes you just go for it. We went for it, and we missed.
No, I understand that scenario, but they weren't denying him the opportunity to play. They traded him.
Right, but the Browns could just
put him on a roster and say you're not the starter.
They could just make him the inactive third quarterback.
Yeah, but I think Bull was, and I would. I think the way to do it is you send him home. I do think he could be a negative
I guess
influence.
there could be a play. I guess there's.
And that's my question.
Something for the Players Association?
In the Players Association deal
that
says if a player is healthy and he wants to be there, you can't lock him out.
Or you ask. Or
there may be.
And you ask Deshaun, because I think there's a little bit of this too. Like Deshaun,
he may not want to be there.
Deshaun, the way it ended is not the gun. He's not gun ho to come back. It's not all roses. He's like, yo, it kind of ended bad. You ask him, hey, what would you prefer? Would you want to be out of the facility, work on your game, be somewhere else, or do you want to be here? And then you have a conversation with him, and I would.
Why would he want to be there?
I wouldn't be surprised if I said
to revive his career. But otherwise, it's maybe the end.
If they're not going to let him actually play anyway.
No, but if he's in the building and he can demonstrate that he's a different person,
right?
And again, this is a huge assumption.
Yeah.
But if he's in the building and he's the first one to get in and he's the last one to leave, and his entire outlook and attitude has completely changed, and he starts to demonstrate abilities that he once did in this league, then at least there's a path forward for him to continue his career. Yeah. Guys, I think if this is it for him in Cleveland, I think this is it for him as an NFL player. And if we're thinking that, he has to at least be considering the fact that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any chance he ever plays again in the league.
Yeah,
I don't either. But
the injuries, guys, I think at this point are going to be too much for him. The shoulder, I said this before it happened when it was the fractured humerus or glenoid, fractured glenoid, excuse me, glenoid, which is the socket. That's a very, very debilitating injury. My nephew had the same injury, not to a throwing shoulder, but to his opposite arm, and he was a receiver, never played again.
Wow.
Really? 19 years old. And so for Deshaun to have the same injury, and again, it's hard to compare the players, but I'm just telling you, the injury is severe.
Sure.
And for a quarterback to have that, it's really, really difficult to come back.
Really
Now you add an Achilles.
Yeah.
At his age, guys, I don't see it happening.
Let me ask you guys one last question on Kirk Cousins, and we'll bring Leroy in. But just yes or no, take the money out of the equation. Is Kirk Cousins a better quarterback than what the Browns currently have on their roster?
Yes.
G?
Yeah, probably.
It's close.
It's close.
Because he's the one that
I actually think Jameis is better than Kirk Cousins.
I think
not that I like
this is
Jameis
wild.
that much.
I think Jameis, Flacco, and Kirk Cousins is the same person.
Same guy.
Jameis is a little younger. I guess I'd take Jameis over the three. I don't really want any of them to be my starter, but I would take Jameis over the other guys.
All right, let's bring in Leroy to the conversation. Leroy's joining us today thanks to TNT because it is that time of year, guys. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever before, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup. It's SMU taking on Penn State at noon. Then Clemson is looking to upset Texas in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. How you doing today, Leroy?
What's up, fellas?
What's up?
What's good?
I heard your. First of all, what do you think an Achilles tear on a 40-year-old looks like?
Wild.
Looks like
Shredded spaghetti.
I tore mine when
I'm just saying
I tore mine at 40.
that we got Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, who have already played 2 careers worth of football, tearing their Achilles. What do you think that's going to look like returning? Right? It looks exactly how it looks. So that's not going to get better. They're old. It's okay. It's okay to get old. I don't know why people don't understand. As your body gets old, these injuries tend to never go away. That's the reality of life. So for people to think, oh, he got an Achilles tear, he'll come right back. No, Kirk Cousins can't plant and throw like he wants to. He can't move. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. So, no, Kirk Cousins is not an option.
Cousins couldn't move to begin with.
Yeah, he was immobile anyway.
Right. So for the injury part of it, we're not talking about healthy players. We're not talking about a healthy player. And then add years to that.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm out on that.
So what you doing? We talked to you last week. We was on the Jameis train. It didn't devolved a little bit. it went downhill a little bit.
The Jameis train is off the rails.
They going to DTR. What's the best case scenario for DTR? And what's your thought process on Jameis Winston now?
That DTR has grown from watching football. That I think when I watch sports, and I watch all the sports, there's people in the sport that got their bag already, and they can just go out and play, and they play the game. So that means that if you're a quarterback and you go 20 of 22 for 180 yards and your team wins, shrug it off and say, hey, we won. I don't care. That's my job, right? But if you making $3 million, 20 for 22 for 180 yards looks like anybody could do it. And sometimes you press. And I just think there's a lot of guys in a lot of positions in a lot of sports that are worried about the wrong things. You know, they trying to get theirs. and it's not really about that at this moment. Jameis takes a lot of chances. And I've said this in the past. Jameis needs to learn how to win the game in front of him. That's it.
Can he learn
So if
that?
it's a shootout, it's a shootout. If it's not, it's not. He takes a lot of risk at the wrong possible times, right? And it ends up costing his team, and he's going out there and he's trying to really help the team, but he's not. So I don't know how to get that across. The reason why I couldn't be that way, because I wasn't as fast as Eric Metcalf. So I wasn't going to be running outside around the end, right? My whole game was confrontational. So I didn't have those options.
Are you faster than him now, Leroy?
Then who?
Than Eric Metcalf.
Running forwards or backwards? Is he running? Is he running backwards or is he running forward? Like, no.
Thought maybe
I
you
don't
got
run.
faster when you got older.
I told you guys, I see Metcalf at the gym every Saturday.
He's still
an
in great shape.
absolute freaking monster. He looks like he still could play.
He was born that way.
After a certain age, brothers don't be sprinting. We ain't running from the cops.
I ain't running from to or away from nothing. If you chasing me for my money, I'm just gonna get got.
Here you go, dog.
Because I ain't gonna get my
got.
He not breaking it. He ain't got no hamstrings no more.
What about if you see an alligator down there in Florida? You don't run from the alligator?
We not there though.
First of all, see, here's the difference between white folks and black folks. See, white folks are interested in going over there and getting close to the gator and see what the gator. Ooh, look, Johnny, a gator, right? We gonna do it from afar.
Yeah.
So we don't never have to run away from the alligator because we ain't gonna be close enough.
So are you saying you'd take an 8 on a par 5 if there was a gator by where your ball landed?
Yeah, it's just one hole.
I'm taking no 8.
I'll be looking like this. I'm like, hey, Leroy, hey, is that a gator over there? Oh, hell no.
Oh, man, we're going another way.
We going
And
this
you know
way,
what I'm like, don't leave. We had. I remember bringing.
Bless you.
What is it? Was it Goebel? Goebel was a backup quarterback with the Browns, and he came down and we were golfing down in Florida, and he hit his ball in some like high grass by the water, and he walked over there and he stepped on a snake and head went up, right? And I took off running. He go, why are you running? I said, because he gonna get your ass. He gonna get your ass first. Like, we ain't even know.
It's like when there's 2 people in a bear. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the other guy.
I just got to outrun you.
Right.
That's it. So I don't like. Here's the thing that we'll know with DTR, and a lot of this has to go with your mindset, right? Have you been doing the things you need to do to be ready for this moment, right? Watching the other guys play, watching the film, in the playbook, because there's a lot of guys that get frustrated because they're not getting their opportunity. Then their opportunity comes and they're not ready. And that's the thing I'm gonna look for this week. He has the ability.
We just had his numbers up there for the season. It doesn't look like he has been doing those things.
Well, again,
He's barely played.
how many games?
No, I know.
He hasn't
he's thrown 3
right. receptions
and no touchdowns.
Yeah. He's basically he's played
here-
one game basically and parts of 2 others.
When you throw a quarterback in a game after your last quarterback threw 3 picks, you don't want to check down Charlie,
Yeah.
right?
And he's still throwing.
Like, so now you got to come in there and gunsling and just try to make good decisions. So I'm not going. But he's got a full week of preparation. I want to see from both the coaching staff, from what he does on the field, if he's learned anything from these previous moments. And, you see, like, as a running back, I'd watch other guys play and then be in the game. And if I saw somebody hesitate or try to find a bigger hole, I'd look in there and say, ooh, that defense is flowing. I got to get that first opportunity. I got to just hit that little crack. And then when I would go in the game, I wouldn't look for first option. Like, you get a flow of the game watching the game. You understand what you need to do and what the team needs right now, right? And like, I was always told there's nothing wrong with 2nd and 7. There is something wrong with 2nd and 13. And so, like, yeah. So what is his preparation going to be during the week? Has he been working on his skills throwing the football? There's a lot of things that, you want to see, because as a backup quarterback and as a young quarterback, there's no schedule for when your opportunities are going to be. There ain't a schedule. They say, hey, you know what? Week 15, James is going to throw 3 picks. That's when you probably going to get your opportunity. No. So you kind of have to be ready. I think part of that comes from being older, right? Young guys tend to get frustrated about their lack of opportunity. It's a normal thing.
Leroy, what do the Browns do now with Nick Chubb? It's unfortunate, the situation with him, the injury he's come off of. Do you bring him back? I mean, do you have to bring him back because of how much he's done for the organization, how much he means to the city? It's really a tough spot to be in for the Browns with Nick Chubb.
Here's what I would say. There is nothing promised. Nobody owes you anything. Okay? That being said, when you have a serious injury, a lot of the rest of your body compensates for it, and sometimes you leave yourself vulnerable to other things, right? If you ever notice, anybody who has a back surgery or something like that, when they get back to playing football, they pull a hamstring. I don't know why, it just happens. What I would say about the Browns and Nick Chubb is he means more to the organization than the numbers he puts on the field. I don't know if he's done, right? This guy has come back from some serious injuries. He might not, want to go through it. He might not. And if I'm the Browns, the first thing I say is, we want you around. So I would say that none of these decisions have to be made until he's healthy. I told you before that when he was coming back from his knee that just seeing him play was good, but he's not going to be Nick Chubb. So for everybody expecting him to be the old Nick Chubb is unfair to that injury and to him. Like, you can play and still not be healthy. And it usually takes that second year is when you get back to feeling comfortable with everything that's going on. So now with an additional injury, I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what he feels. But I would say this from the standpoint of the Browns, there is no person that I can think of that has carried the torch of being a Browns player and what it takes to play and how you need to play in Cleveland than him. Absolutely. And that has to mean something, to the organization and to the city of Cleveland.
Leroy, Ashton Genty, who could break Barry Sanders' single-season college rushing record this week, albeit in 3 more games, still would break it,
don't diminish it.
I mean, I think it's worth mentioning. All right, whatever. I'll leave it.
They have the exact same amount of carries for what it's worth. Like, exactly 344 carries each. So it's games be damned.
Wait, I'm wondering. I'm curious.
Right, but he hasn't broken the record yet.
No, but I'm curious as to Leroy. Why do you object to bringing him up?
No, he objects to the fact that he got the record.
He hasn't broken the record yet, but he could break it this week.
Right.
But really, the main reason I brought it up is, do you think he should have won the Heisman Trophy, and do you think he's the next special running back in the league?
Second part, yes. He has a dynamic that combines a lot of the skill sets that some running backs only have one of. As far as power, speed, agility, lateral movement. He runs very similar to a bigger Barry Sanders.
Damn.
Right? He's not as listen, I've seen Barry Sanders make people grab air. Yeah. He's not doing that. But he does have that type of lateral movement. So yes, he is going to be an impact player right away. As far as should he have won the Heisman? Absolutely not. The right guy won the Heisman. You talking about a guy who won the best wide receiver award and the best DB award. How is that not the best college player?
Yeah,
right. You like okay? He didn't win one or the other. He won both.
I think in another year he does win the Heisman.
He played more football than anybody else in college football.
Yeah.
Well, you pick it.
He has made more of an impact than any kid, any young man in college football. You could almost say ever.
Can I throw this out? Because he is right where the question I was going to go was, all right, what do you do with Travis Hunter in the pros? If he comes to you and says, I want to play both ways, do you let him? And from you knowing the wear and tear on your body and how it works, is it even possible for him to play both ways?
I'd start him off at nickel corner and wide receiver. Why not?
And let him play both.
And he would start both
and see how it goes. Because guess what? If you eliminate one, then you're not going to possibly be able to see what he's the best at and what you need him more as. So you almost have to play him at both before you make the determination of where you actually need him on a football team.
But does the investment part of it come into play? Because obviously he's going to be a huge investment to wherever he lands. And then you start thinking about, and the way the way this game is played, that teams protect their investments. And if you're out there twice as much, you have twice as much chance of getting injured.
But could you say the same thing about
Otani? He's not playing running back and linebacker.
Times.
He's not playing running back and linebacker.
No, he's still playing an impact position, though.
Wide receiver, and DB. So you might say a running back and a linebacker might collide with somebody 50, 60 times a game,
right. No,
40,
that's
50
true.
times.
Yeah.
He's probably maybe
Leroy.
If he gets hit 5 or 10 times a game, that's going to be the extent.
Let me ask you this, because I've asked other players this, and I've always gotten you get answers that are all over. You played in a very good college conference that was physical, more physical, I think, when you played than today. So rate on 0 to 100 the score of your body taking impact. So in the college game, was it a 52, but the NFL, it was an 85? Like, what's the difference in the physical contact between big-time college football and the NFL?
I would say 15 and 80.
Wow.
Really?
And the only reason why I leave 20% off, because if you have 100%, your butt ain't playing that long because you're getting your ass kicked.
Yeah, you're done.
Right?
So just 15, to clarify,
15% in college, you didn't get hit hard that much.
You're saying you got hit way harder in the pros. What about your body though? Because obviously I didn't play tailback in college or the pros. I played DB.
My body?
Yeah.
I was never sore after a college game.
Really?
Never?
Really?
Never.
You a freak, man.
Now, do you think that was youth, or that was just speaking to what you're talking about right now? They just didn't deliver the kind of punishment.
A little bit of both, and I never you could be a bully in college, right? I could be a bully, right? But then you get and think about this: when I got to the NFL, the defensive lineman that I was going against in college was now outside linebacker and was faster than me.
Right.
Right? So you have to also understand, I was standing in the huddle. I might I might play a whole season and only play against 5 or 6 linebackers that weighed 250.
Yeah.
Right? The NFL, if somebody was 230, he was a safety. That was my linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In college. So
and
while we
Leroy.
sitting here talking about all these things, no, it's a step up. It's a gradual step up.
Yeah.
And let's face it, when he played, defensive players could do whatever the hell they wanted to you.
Oh yeah, that's the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, but the thing that I always tell people is one of the reasons why I retired is because I couldn't get out their way.
Shoulder pads are enormous.
Right.
Yeah, hey man,
You had the largest shoulder pads in the
Your
history
shoulder
of shoulder
pad game
pads.
is elite.
He's talked about this.
Hey,
Yeah.
when I got into the league, they got smaller in Minnesota.
Yeah. Not
But
much.
they was still XL. Like, dude, look at me. Did I look like I was running away from somebody?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So I needed them pads.
Yeah.
It's not like, look, it didn't take me long to realize I wasn't running away from these guys.
He kind of
Right?
looks like you
Like,
are running
so-
away from them
There
in
you
that
are.
picture.
And there were times, yeah, I had to play a certain way, right?
Yeah.
One of the cool things about my career was every level of football that I played, each coach, even from Little League to high school to college to the NFL, each coach wanted me to play football the same exact way.
Yeah.
And that as you be physical, nobody can stop you. You're breaking tackles. Don't run away from it. Okay, so in order for me to play a long time, I had to learn how to make the hits less physical while looking physical. So while guys come to tackle me, I would always pick an angle. So pick a shoulder, so even the running, and when I was running, while people think it was a hard hit or whatever, I was running at his shoulder. I was trying to avoid the head-on, the full-on contact.
Right.
And eventually, those things helped me break tackles. So, there was a method to it, but it's still you're still dealing with bigger guys. I tell you a story. We were playing Pittsburgh one year, right? And I was running a seam route up the middle of the field because, periodically they throw me the ball. Out of the backfield, I run up the seam. We all knew, right? It's either going to be a linebacker, so you're going to have to outrun the linebacker. I'm like, cool. I'm running. My legs are moving. I'm telling you, I thought I was running a 10-100. I looked to the left of me, and you know who was keeping up with me? Levon Kirkland. A 295-pound linebacker.
Middle linebacker.
And I'm like, the nose tackle is keeping up with me. I'm mad. What is going on here? And smiling at me. So that's the kind of stuff, when you go up to different levels, you realize that you're not just going to out-athlete these athletes.
Right, now.
You're not going to do it.
I hope the young man has a tremendous career. He's an incredible talent.
He does. I think he will. You know why?
I hope so.
Here's why. Go look at all the successful teams. Maybe there'll be a couple of outliers. The one thing they do, and this is the reason why the last couple of years, not this year particularly, but the last couple of years, the Browns have always been in the hunt, is because offensive line, defensive line, they built their teams from the inside out.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, all these teams talking about, we can get a running back from anywhere. Where are you? Where are you? So the running back making a comeback, I'm interested to see what happens in New York, because I remember that Hard Knocks where the guy said we don't need Saquon. He'll be all right. Right?
That work out
That's
for
not, you don't, hey, I tell you what, you don't want that on TV. You don't. So
Now he's
you
in
look
the
at all
division
these
kicking
teams.
everyone's tail.
Right. You look at all these
Giants would
teams.
still suck with
They
Saquon, let's be honest.
all have a run game.
Suck less.
Right.
Fair.
All right, Leroy, have a Merry Christmas.
You guys too. You guys too.
Hey, who's Michigan got in the playoffs?
Enjoy the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah, who's Michigan got in the playoffs? There's so many teams in. I haven't looked at all the matchups yet.
You know what's funny about that?
Roll
you know
Tide.
what's funny about that? You know what's funny about that? Like, you go ahead on and have your moment, right? But guess what? No matter how much winning y'all do in this postseason that we are not participating in, no matter how much, y'all still lost to Michigan.
Yeah,
that's
don't
right.
Remind us. Some of that goes away if we win it all.
No, it don't.
Yeah, it does.
No, it don't. No, it don't.
Hey, ask the players, you want a national championship ring or gold pants? You can only have one.
No. The gold pants is secondary. Beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you right now,
it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna give y'all a warning right now. Okay? If your quarterback doesn't play better, that Tennessee front seven,
I know they get after
is the best in the country.
Yeah, they're good.
The best in the country.
Yeah. That's the matchup.
So,
you nailed it.
So while y'all sitting here talking about who's in the playoff, be careful. And y'all selling all y'all tickets to Tennessee.
That's true.
I heard a lot of them are going out.
And we got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for the head coach. So,
Yeah.
you know what you're going to do.
You really don't like Ryan Day.
No. He's dead
All
to
right,
me.
thanks, Leroy.
He's dead to me.
All
See you, Leroy. Merry Christmas, brother.
Merry Christmas. We got to bring in our next guest after a quick word from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. With Prize Picks, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps with Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money back in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly just by playing $5. You don't have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. And with that, let's welcome in Shaun King.
Shaun, last week you got on me when I said it was Jameis's worst game. You defended him. Can't defend this one, can you? I mean, he was brutal in this game.
Get out the way, Bull. First of all, let's just say happy holidays to everybody there in Cleveland. As you go shopping for Christmas gifts, whatever you believe in, whether it's Jesus, Yeshu, Allah, I want you to go out and get a Bible, a Quran, a rosary, something, and just pray for the Browns. Because there's a sorcery that's attached to this team that I never understood until this year. I'm watching.
Welcome to the family, Shaun.
I mean, Nick Chubb's fumbling. I mean, here's what's so crazy about this past game. Before I get to what you said, boy, and I'm not comparing the two quarterbacks, but Jameis and Patrick played the exact same game. The Chiefs just caught all of Jameis's mistakes, and the Browns dropped all of Patrick's.
Yeah, well, listen.
The Chiefs big.
Patrick didn't play well. He didn't play well.
Very ordinary.
The Browns could have had 5 or 6 interceptions Sunday. They dropped every one of them.
Well, hey, to be fair, in that first game that Jameis won against the Ravens, they dropped like 4 or 5 interceptions.
Well, the key one at the end, they did.
They dropped a big one at the end.
You know what? Over the course of the year, that all equals out. You know.
Last week against the Steelers, the D tackle, I think it was Beaton, makes an unbelievable interception on Jameis on the screen. Against the Chiefs, Myles Garrett's got a chance to make the same kind of interception on a Mahomes screen and just can't hold it. So I'll say this. If they decided to bench Jameis, I can't argue with it. I thought this was, just from a decision-making standpoint, the first game I thought he didn't see the field well. I thought as I watched him play, he was trying to balance being aggressive with being careful with the football. And just because of the game flow, sometimes it's hard to do that. I mean, you got to look at it like this. The Browns fumble, the opening punt?
Yeah.
The Chiefs get it. They go up, they score, so you're already playing from behind. On the first interception, I thought it was a force, but it was nobody else open either. I thought the coverage fooled him. I don't think he saw the backside DB fall into that post, but there was nobody else open. The second one, it's a tip ball to Chubb that gets picked. And the third one, the guy from Kansas City said he looked up at the damn Jumbotron and saw Jameis throwing the ball and turned around and got a pick.
That's funny.
The team is snake bit. Yeah, if you go listen
can we not
to
put live action in the Jumbotron?
He did say that, by the way. Trent McDuffie said
That's
he had
funny.
no idea Jameis had thrown the ball. He was looking backwards and turned around, and the ball landed in his lap. I'm serious. He legitimately said that. He told Darren. He actually told Darren Smith that after the game.
So it's one of those things. I still think Jameis is extremely talented. At the end of the day, it's a result-oriented business, and it didn't work out. It didn't.
Shaun, do you think defenses are doing something differently now because they've had more of an opportunity to see what throws it is he likes to make? Because you said that you thought this was the first game that he wasn't seeing the field. Is that a result of what, by the way, Kansas City's defense and their defensive coordinator is one of the best in the game. But is that you think possibly what's going on here?
He hadn't had an easy stretch here. Steelers, Chiefs, Chargers, they've had some tough games. The one that really stands out to me is the 4th and 1, where it wasn't an interception, but they ran the ball with Chubb on 3rd and 2. Chubb got stopped short. They decided play action pass on 4th down, and Jameis had 81. Sorry, 81. You're one of those guys I hadn't seen play. Yeah, I hadn't seen play all year that keeps popping up in these games now that Jameis is the quarterback. That's a shot at the Browns a little bit for not having great personnel. He had 81 wide open. And he didn't see the coverage clearly, and that could have been an easy first down. So I'm talking more from just determining where to go with the ball. I thought he was high on a couple throws he normally makes. But hey, I'm not down on Jameis. I'm down on the Browns. They got dude. They don't know when the last time that the building just So I grew up not poor, but I didn't grow up with money either. If that makes sense. So sometimes you had to fumigate the house, and you go in the neighborhood and they got this big. A cover over the house so they can get all the bugs and all the bad stuff out the house. Maybe Cleveland just need to do that to the facility. Just close the facility down for a week, put one of them big insect covers over the entire facility, and debug the place.
So instead of building a dome, we just need to add a tent.
Kevin Stefanski just officially announcing that DTR will start. It had been reported, but he just now announced it. You have any hope for him, Shaun?
None.
Wow.
I don't either. So.
Is it the skill set, or you just don't think it's set up right for him?
A young quarterback coming into this situation, come on. How's he going to flourish and succeed?
At least he had 90 minutes notice that he was going to be playing.
I would anticipate that Njoku probably won't be back. Judy is a bright spot. He's emerged as a legitimate, if not a legitimate 1B caliber receiver. I thought Jerome Ford did some explosive things in space that we hadn't seen for a while. But other than that, the offensive line is not really pass protected at a high level. From a run-backing standpoint, they're awful. What does the young quarterback have going on from a support system around him to really flourish? I'm looking at it more from that aspect than I am a knock on DTR and his ability.
He is getting to play against one of the worst defenses in the league this year, so that's something. There's not much else. I agree with you, but at least it's against the bad defense this week. However, the Bengals have a good offense, so he's going to be
have
forced
to
keep
throw
up.
and throw a lot. And usually, when defenses know that, they're at a disadvantage.
But you got to think that the Bengals just got Will Levis fired the week before. Man, what they had 22 interceptions in one game, 6 return for touchdown. They're coming in confident.
I'd love you to break down that film because I was watching some of that game, and Will Levis made some of the worst throws I've ever seen a quarterback make. He was I don't know what he was seeing. I'd love you to break that down, but go ahead, Dustin.
Go ahead, Shaun. You got something on Will Levis? You want to talk some mayonnaise? Or?
Yeah, I was going to say Will Levis is why they should not let any NFL decision maker participate in the pre-draft process that didn't play football.
If you're an analytic
numbers guy, because when Will walks in the building, he looks like Adonis.
Like Brady Quinn, man. He looks just like Brady Quinn.
Yeah, he's got perfect analogy. But if you look at his tape at Kentucky, this is what he was at Kentucky. I don't know why people won't believe what they see. Like, you look at Caleb Williams right now, and people are like, what is he doing? This was what he did at USC. They just had better players than everybody they played against, so it worked.
That's partly why Ohio State has not had great quarterback play in the NFL.
Yeah.
They always have the best linemen. They always have the best wide receivers. They're playing against inferior talent week in and week out. You give a quarterback 4.5 seconds, 5 seconds to throw the ball, he looks great. And then he comes to the league, and he's never had to diagnose defenses, and he's never had to hurry his throw every single time. And there's a long line of failed quarterbacks that come out of Ohio State, and I think it's partly the same thing.
Hey, Jay, right before Dustin asked this question.
Yeah, sorry.
Ohio State self-sabotaged themselves. I mean, they recruited. They're the only school in the country that's been competitive with LSU from a wide receiver talent standpoint over the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And out of all the quarterbacks in the portal, they went and got Walker Howard,
Will Howard, yeah.
Guy from K-State. Will Howard, a guy from K-State. And they went and got the most conservative play caller they could find in Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Like,
meantime, Kyle McCord finishes 10th in the Heisman ballot.
It's
the
like
guy
they
that left
tried
to
to become
Syracuse.
It's like they've tried to become Michigan overnight. Like, we're going to play boring football and run the ball and play defense and just have the quarterback manage the game. It's almost like they tried to mimic Michigan in one offseason.
Shaun, is there anything that can happen in the final 3 games here that could cost Stefanski and Barry their jobs?
The owner could sell the team.
So you're convinced they're back?
I mean, if they weren't going to be back, why are they still there? It's not like they've started winning games. I mean, they've gotten exciting under Jameis, but they haven't really turned into a whole bunch of wins. So if they were going to fire him, why wouldn't they have already fired him?
A lot of teams just don't fire coaches until the end of the year.
Unless you have a complete bonehead gaffe like Eberflus in Chicago, who basically signed his own pink slip there with that decision. I think it's sort of rare to see it, but I don't know. I guess I wonder if you're seeing enough, Shaun, from your perspective, breaking down this film every week, watching these quarterbacks and watching what the game plans are, and watching Dorsey with the play calls and Stefanski and how he handles the situation. Do you see things that give you encouragement that things can get better next year?
Think long, you think wrong.
So it's interesting because the GM will already be gone, in my opinion.
I'm with you on that. I think Barry's gone.
I agree.
Yeah, when I look at the team, I don't see enough top-level talent.
Yep.
I see high draft picks. I see highly paid guys, but I don't see super talented guys across the field. And that's defense and offense. I mean, you got your Myles Garrett, you got your Jerry Jeudy, who's kind of emerged. But, like, when you look at this team and they play other NFL teams, they don't look like the most talented team on any Sunday.
Man, you just stole my whole question. For me, I got an initiative. It's called Project Stockpile. And every offseason, we come to the offseason, and they tell me, oh, we don't need this guy. We don't need that guy. They make up any excuse. He's old. He talks too much. He chews gum on the wrong side of the street. They don't want nobody. When I look at the Cleveland Browns, and I'm just going to be honest with you, when I've been a Browns fan my whole life, I have never woke up one Saturday or Sunday and been like, boy, look how fast those Cleveland Browns are out there. Look how hard they're a blur out there. No, they look like various degrees of trying hard. Trying hard does not matter. I don't want tryhards. I want explosive athletes. And why is it that we don't have? I watch these other teams. I'm like, we ain't got nothing like this. We just don't got them. I don't see no athletes, man.
It's so funny. You guys have got some super Browns fans here in Las Vegas. One of them is a good friend of mine named Shannon. And when we watch the games at the lounge on Sundays, we've got all the games on. And he's always got one TV with the Browns game on. So I can watch it too now because I'm doing this show. And the whole game, he's like, why we don't run that play? Why we don't have that player? It's every Sunday.
You call plays. I just want to ask this question, and you can tell me if I'm dumb or not. So, like, if I'm an offensive coordinator and I'm watching the Chiefs, right, and I'm watching the Packers or I'm watching somebody with good offense, why can't they just simply say, hey, a video coordinator, give me all the 11 personnel that the Chiefs got, right? All of them. Or they give me all the 21 personnel, or give me all of the King Trip stuff that they doing over there. And then you get it all in film and you just basically steal those plays.
Well, you don't have Patrick Mahomes.
No. I just want to steal the concept. And be like, I'm going to steal this concept.
Oh, you're like playing Madden. You want to take the playbook from, or like college football.
Yeah.
Take the Oregon playbook.
I want your whole playbook, and then I'm going to take a hodgepodge of the best playbooks from the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to put that in this week. If you can't, am I dumb for saying why don't they just steal these other people's plays?
No, I don't think you're dumb, Bush. I listen to your show, by the way.
It is a copycat league, though, to some degree.
Great job. It's always the plays are very similar around the league. So the Chiefs are winning this year, and here's why the Chiefs are so good. They've created, Andy Reid, when I say they, is at the forefront of that, a culture that has a motto: no excuses, no explanations. Right? So they are all banged up at wide receiver. All their top guys are hurt. Rasheed Rice out for the year. Hollywood Brown still not back. But they're so good on defense, they can commit to running the ball, even when they're not successful running the ball, and kind of dink and dunk pass it, because their defense keeps them in the game. Mm-hmm. And then you count on Mahomes to make 2 or 3 great plays a game, and they're winning that way. Like, you go look at Buffalo. Buffalo's winning because Josh Allen is playing out of his mind right now. I don't know that Buffalo's offensive talent is light years ahead of Cleveland's, but the quarterback is playing at an MVP level. You know, it's different. For years, Baltimore has won with great defense and a strong run game and Lamar Jackson's feet. This year, they're throwing the ball all over the field, but the defense is terrible. So it's like year to year, it's a lot different. If you're asking me specifically about Stefanski and Dorsey, they're just going to be collateral damage if I own the Browns. Like, I wasn't, like, telling a joke earlier when I was talking about they got to fumigate the Browns facility, but I really mean that. I'm firing everybody. Equipment guy, training guy. The only people safe are the secretaries. Everybody else is gone in the building. I'm talking about, I'm getting rid of entire departments. Because somebody in here got a root on us. And since nobody will acknowledge and admit to it, I'm getting rid of everything and everybody. Sometimes you got to start over.
I'm gonna end this by shocking Shaun right now. Because as much as we've gone at it about Jameis Winston, I actually would still consider bringing him back next year if I were the Browns. I don't think they're going to, but I would. Because if they draft a quarterback, whether it's the first round, third round, whatever it is, the Browns too often have forced their young quarterbacks to start before they were ready. And I honestly believe, even with his flaws, that Jameis is the best option of the veteran quarterbacks out there to at least make them competitive as a bridge quarterback.
So here's what's interesting. I'm going to be very fascinated about this year's free agency because this is a very weak quarterback draft, right?
Yeah.
So there are only 2 guys that have first-round grades, and in my opinion, Shador and Cam are mid to late round, first-round picks, not early, but they're going to go early because of sparsity. So if, let's say, Giants, Raiders go quarterback, what is Tennessee doing at quarterback? You know, what are some of these other teams that need a quarterback and there aren't any this year? What are they going to do? I mean, so I'm going to be interested. Does Jameis get an opportunity to go somewhere and be a bridge starter somewhere where he doesn't have this stretch, you know, on his resume? Possible. This is going to be. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you look at the landscape, this isn't a great quarterback draft, and there are some quarterback needy teams.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold, if the Vikings don't sign him, I mean, you'd think they would, but, you know, they did draft McCarthy pretty high, and Sam Darnold's going to get a lot of money, so somebody's going to sign him. Justin Fields may get an opportunity to start somewhere. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks.
Last year at this time, and he wasn't turning the ball over, but people said Russell Wilson was washed.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was the reason Denver wasn't winning.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
I mean, it's going to be and to the NFC North's credit, damn, they get the quarterback situations right. Packers drafted Jordan Love when they had Aaron Rodgers. They drafted Aaron Rodgers when they had Brett Favre.
The Bears.
People forget the Lions have the kid from Tennessee who tore his ACL sitting in the wings now, just learning.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota signed.
I did too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota signed Sam Darnold to a 2-year deal and give J.J. McCarthy another year to get all the way healthy next year and learn
I would
more.
do it if I were them.
Done that. They've drafted.
I actually think Caleb Williams is a good quarterback, Shaun. I don't know about you.
I think he's good.
I just think he's in a terrible situation. I know they have talent there, but they're just so poorly run. They've had bad coaches. They got a terrible offensive line. I think Caleb has shown enough that I think he's good. I just think it's been a tough rookie year.
So there's power in the tongue, and words matter, boy. So he's not a good quarterback. He's a talented quarterback. There's a difference between those two things.
That's fair.
And he needs, but it's semantics, but it's very, very important.
I agree. I think it's a.
You're right. You're right.
I think
That's fair.
I think it's a great point. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he has to have an offensive guy come in that's actually super, super elite from the discipline side. Because Caleb has some things he has to fix before he can become a good player. He doesn't see the field well and from the pocket. And he's always been able to rely on his talent and ability to cover it up by extending the play, making some incredible throw. But if you go back and look at I watched all 22, not just the Browns, from all the quarterbacks I'm interested in. And there's some guys wide open in this Bears system. And he just doesn't get them the ball in rhythm on time. So he's got to have somebody going to hold him accountable to that if he wants to get better. And the last point I'll make about this draft class, isn't Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward kind of less talented versions of Caleb Williams in a lot of ways? Don't their games mimic? They just don't have the arm talent, aren't as elite of an athlete as Caleb can be at times.
Yeah, I'm with you, Shaun. Sometimes I get nervous now when somebody says they play off platform or play off schedule. That look cute. That look nice when you dropping dimes from 3/4 length and all this other stuff. But I need somebody that could just hit a receiver on a 3-step, 5-step one time sometimes, man. And college quarterbacks now don't be having that.
No. If you want to see something funny, guys, and I know when you're a Browns fan, boy, you need some levity in your life. So I don't know, whatever your favorite comic movie is, go watch it, man. You guys had me in the dump Sunday. And my Bucks are kicking butt. And y'all had me feeling a certain kind of way. What was it about? I missed my point. God damn it, I was about to say something.
There was some movie you were going to mention.
Tell us to watch what movie to watch to make us laugh.
No. Okay, good catch, Jay. This is why they pay Jay the big money. You're the best, man. Sorry, guys, but I took a lot of hits to the head. I'm short-term memory leaving. If you want to see something funny, go and watch the Bears wide receivers when Caleb Williams starts doing all that foolishness. They don't even do the scramble drill no more. I swear, they don't do the scramble drill anymore. Dustin, they just be looking at this fool like, all right, don't run around. I ain't going nowhere else.
Deep guys don't come short. Short guys don't go deep. They just look around.
They just looking at him.
That's bad.
They so sick of Caleb Williams. They don't know it. They are sick and tired of Caleb Williams. Think about the running it requires a receiver to run your route that's on the call play, and then your quarterback is scrambling 75% of the time. And then they want you to reroute and go cross field.
Yeah, you're exhausted.
Them boys ain't even moving no more.
Shaun, we got to run. Merry Christmas, brother.
Thanks, Shaun.
Merry Christmas,
See
man.
ya.
Hey, love you guys, man. Hopefully Tulane keeps it competitive Friday against Florida. I hope so, man.
I think
love y'all. Y'all have a great Christmas, man.
You
Blessings
too.
to everybody in their family.
See you, brother.
Awesome. That was Shaun King. Got to get two reads
Mike,
in real quick. Yes,
before you do your reads.
Shoot. Yep, good job.
Okay. A couple of updates from Kevin Stefanski's press conference. Number one, Jameis Winston will be the backup quarterback. I know a lot of you guys, yesterday you guys thought it would probably be Bailey Zappi, but it will be Jameis. Martin Emerson not practicing due to a concussion. Shelby Harris not practicing, got an elbow injury. David Njoku not practicing, may not play due to a hamstring injury. And Cedric Tillman remains in concussion protocol, although he is practicing. And Dustin Hopkins will be the starting kicker this week. Riley Patterson has been claimed by another team, or is about to be claimed off another team from their practice squad. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you both. Let's get into our next topic. 2 reads to get to. First, Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it more wisely to improve yourself? Well, our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, Socialism, and Communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever, tune in wherever, and you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, and discussions, or simply just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Today's show is also sponsored by FanDuel. You can tackle all your NFL and NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. On Monday night, Kobe Altman was sitting courtside for the Nets Cavaliers game, potentially checking out some trade options as they get near the trade deadline. They're still over a month and a half away, but as we get closer to that, the Nets and Cavs have been rumored to be in at least discussions about potentially a Dorian Finney-Smith trade. We've talked about Cam Johnson. I don't think they have the assets for Cam Johnson. I do think they have the assets to acquire Dorian Finney-Smith. Guys, when you look at what the Cavs roster currently is built on and what may be missing, do you think Dorian Finney-Smith could be the missing piece to their championship puzzle?
What do you think they'd have to give up, Mike, before how would we decide whether we'd want to trade for him unless we have an idea what it would cost?
He makes about $15 million.
Yeah.
So if you pair together Niang and either Sam Merrill or Jalen Tyson and one of the young guys, and then a second-round pick or 2 second-round picks, that's probably enough.
I'd do that for those guys.
Oh no, man!
I would.
No.
I would.
I'm cool.
To me, I'm not.
I like his length. I like his. Is he an elite defender, at least on the perimeter?
He's above average. Elite, certainly no.
Okay.
Above average, yeah.
I'm cool on Mr. Smith.
You don't want him, you pass?
Listen, in general, when often fans, when a team's playing well, fans say, I don't want to mess with the chemistry.
Yeah.
And I'm usually like, that's silly. It's professional sports, guys change teams. But unless it's a difference-making piece. And
Slam dunk.
Mike has told me that he's not, so I'm going with that. I'm not trading for a guy and messing with my chemistry. Niang's played well. The team, he's a popular guy on the team, Mike, I think.
They love him.
They love him.
So why am I going to trade just to get Dorian Finney-Smith? If I can get like a guy who's a borderline all-star, okay. I'm not that I can, but then I would do it. But I'm not shaking up this team for a slight increase. I just don't think that makes sense.
I don't think you're getting a borderline all-star without giving up way more than what
here's the thing.
Mike
sure.
just said.
Kobe showed interest in Finney-Smith last year. The asking price was too much, and I think this year the asking price is way lower. So I'm sure there's still interest there. But what you brought up or it was Mikey the asking price. Like if it's going to be somewhat reasonable, I think the Cavaliers will have an interest. No,
but do you trade Niang, who's popular on the team and is playing well? Is Dorian Finney-Smith that much better than Niang?
I don't feel like George. I like Niang. I do.
I think
he's
you
a
could
good
make
player.
the trade without Niang. I think you could keep him.
I'm not sure how you get the money is the issue.
I'm not either. There's got to be a path on it. But if you could get
Pulling
there.
up the trade machine right now to see if there's
money
ways. Because LeVert, if you want to do LeVert straight up for Dorian Finney-Smith,
I don't want to
what
do
you're
that.
not doing, but that's your. No. I'm just saying. I'm not suggesting.
I'm saying that the money would work
is
on
equal.
that.
How do you get to that money without LeVert?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not doing that.
That's why Niang is. So give me a sec. I'll pull up the trade machine. Let's see.
Why would they do that? By the way,
Who, the Nets?
yeah.
Well, they just traded Dennis Schroeder to the Golden State Warriors for 4 second-round picks. They're essentially
They're building over. They're tearing it down.
Yeah, all right. So they just want second-round picks. All right.
I mean, they want more than that, but In today's day and age of the NBA with the second apron and all the apron things, second-round picks have more value than they've ever had before.
I'm only moving. Listen, give me Cam Johnson. We can talk about it. But
yeah, but we don't have anything to give them.
But look, if they're already selling. And you want to keep the bag of goods that you have.
Can we give them 13 second-round picks for Cam Johnson, Mike?
I don't think that there's gonna be teams that'll offer
Trade
multiple
Machine
first
said
round
no.
picks.
Finney's Dorian, he don't move the needle for me. Like I feel like, you 6'7", you're an above average defender. You're not shooting over 40% from three. It's not like you're bringing anything crazy. Like you can get that production from Okoro, you can get that production from Dean Wade, you can get that production from he's not even a type of scorer that we Karis LeVert is.
Yeah, well, Mike,
he's a better three-point shooter than Okoro.
Okoro ain't been missing, low-key. Okoro not.
It's only 36%. That's not great.
Okoro's technically second in the NBA. Oh,
God.
It's minimal volume.
He's taking like 7 shots.
Yeah, it's minimal volume.
Wait a second, Mike.
He's hitting them, though.
Whose minutes is he taking?
Them,
is he taking Dean Wade's minutes? Is he taking Okoro's minutes if you get him?
So what Dorian Finney-Smith offers is a bigger version of Isaac Okoro, essentially. He's 6'8" with long arms. He gives you a little more size.
But isn't Dean Wade a bigger version of Okoro?
I don't think he's as long.
Dean Wade's bigger than Dorian Finney-Smith. But
No, I mean just length, just wingspan. When I'm closing my eyes and watching him play, I would have said, okay, not an elite defender on the perimeter, but very, very good perimeter defender.
Yeah, he's a
and he
above
makes
average
things
perimeter
difficult
defender.
with his length.
Yeah, he's an above average perimeter defender without it.
Would you make that trade, Mike, if you were the Cavs?
No, I told you, I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith is enough of an upgrade to mess with what you have.
No.
Is he an upgrade? Yes. Over the theoretical players of Isaac. And listen, if Isaac's going to shoot 49% from three in the playoffs, then it's not an upgrade at all. I just don't think that's sustainable. And Dorian Finney-Smith has playoff experience, but I don't think he's that much of an upgrade.
Here's the question, though. When you're where the Cavs are, they're not a major piece away. Like, the building blocks are there. They've proven that.
So here's another trade.
Oftentimes what makes the difference in series is just a little bit of improvement in one area.
Yeah, so real quick, and then I'll give you a second trade option with Dorian Finney-Smith because there is one other way that they can get to that number. Have you ever watched a game and been like, oh, this guy played tonight? And then you go in the box score and he played 32 minutes and you're like, this guy played 32 minutes. It's the Andrew Wiggins conundrum.
Sure. Yeah.
As someone who watches way too much Nets basketball, there's too often and too many times where Dorian Finney-Smith plays 28 minutes a game and you have no idea he's on the court.
Made no impact.
Yeah.
Are you a Nets fan?
I was going to say, why do you watch so much Nets?
Well,
I grew up a Nets fan.
Yeah,
Jason
I thought
Kidd's
you did.
my favorite
Being
player.
from New Jersey, when they were in New Jersey, I'm sure that was your rooting.
Who-
that was your
who-
team.
Jason Kidd.
I was going to say, like Derek Coleman back in the day?
No,
Jason
He's too young
Kidd,
for that.
Richard Jefferson,
You're
Kid
too young?
Kittle,
Yeah.
Vince
RJ,
Carter.
The next generation
The next
of Nets.
gen, okay. Yeah,
Nenad
Jason Kidd, yeah.
Kristach, Zoran Planovic. Like, we go Rodney Rogers. We'll go tit for tat with all these old school Nets.
By the way,
my dad's still a big Nets fan, so
by the way,
I watch
Mike,
the Cavs and the Nets.
Dorian Finney-Smith's, just to defend him a little bit, his career three-point percentage in the playoffs is 42%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Like I
what
said, he's
Yeah.
a guy, in theory, sounds great. When the Nets were asking for 2 first-round picks for him last year, which is why they didn't trade him. They didn't get anywhere close to that.
Man, ain't crazy.
He ain't worth 2 first-round picks.
No. Well, they
He's a
they
nice
learned
piece.
that.
He's a nice piece. Don't get me wrong. You'd rather have Dorian Finney-Smith than not, but I'm not sure he's that much of an upgrade
Bull, what
to
was his
mess with what
volume
you had.
in the playoffs? Shooting 42%.
So
I'll tell you why that might make a difference.
That's in
How many games?
that's an average of 5.5 threes per game.
Now, how many games?
35 total playoff games.
Okay, so here's why that is a really, and this might be why Kobe likes him. You'll know this.
That's a real number.
That's a real number.
That's a
That's
real
not
number.
an anomaly.
Yeah.
That's a 5 percentage point jump.
Yeah.
And it tells me that on a night in, night out basis, when you're playing for a junk team, he's putting on his shoes, he's tying them up, he's going through the motions. But when the lights are on and the pressure is there, this guy's got another gear. This guy's got another level he can go to.
And actually, the last
I
three-
like that about him.
And he's been in the playoffs 4 times, 3 with Dallas and with Brooklyn last year. His first year with Dallas, he actually shot not terrible, 37%. But the 3 years since, 43, 43, and 41. So he's probably shot closer to 43% the last 3 years in the playoffs, which is obviously very good from 3.
That's like the baseball player who hits 260 in the regular season,
Yep.
but gets 375.
That's right.
In his postseason games.
So, Mike, what's the other way to get him?
The other way to get him, if you don't want to touch George Niang, you can
Yep.
put, and I'm not sure the Nets would do this because Okoro's on a longer contract, but Okoro, Tyson, and picks, some combination of second-round picks, matches the money for Dorian Finney-Smith.
Under no circumstances, if you're the same as Isaac Okoro, why am I going to give you him
and
Tyson and some picks?
Because you got to match the money. I'm not like when the Cavs are over the luxury tax. As
I mean, the picks. Who cares? The second
They
round
have
picks.
to match the money. G. It's not a. Would you get? You have to match the money to make it.
So you'd have to trade either Niang or Okoro to make the deal.
I'm cool.
That's why I'm out. That's why I would
Yeah.
would not do it.
That's shaky.
And you know I like all trade deals. And it's Christmas time. I'll take 2 for 1.
Well, so you're gonna have
not this one.
You're gonna have to trade somebody to get. I mean, is he the best player they could get? You think?
You asked me this the other day.
Yeah.
It depends on how many teams are interested in certain guys. I thought Herb Jones was realistic. Now there's like 12 teams interested. They don't have the assets if it's a horse. If it's an orange race.
Right. So they're gonna
maybe. But there's one other thing I want to mention. Then I want to get to the last topic, so we'll finish this. But when you look at the Cavs rotation right now, they still have not added Max Strus to the rotation. When Strus comes in, he's taking minutes from some of these guys.
Yep.
So some of the guys who are playing legitimate 18 to 23 minutes a game right now are not going to be playing 18 to 23 minutes come when Max Strus is back, and the rotation's going to go from 10-11 to probably 8-9 in the playoffs. If you think Finney-Smith can be one of those 8 or 9, the deal makes sense. I'm not positive he fits into your top 8 or 9, which is why I personally would not make the deal.
Yeah, because once the playoff rotation comes around, if you're not going,
if he's not in it, why make the move?
Then you're doing this for April, May, and June.
Exactly. So if you think Finney-Smith would be in your top 8 or 9, I understand it. I personally don't. I couldn't guarantee it, which is why I wouldn't mess with it. So, my sense. Your last thoughts before we pivot to our last topic?
I don't think there's what else left to say.
No.
The Cavs are good. I expect them to win every game.
I had one other question
Feels
for
that
you,
way
Mike.
right now.
Shoot.
If you're taking inventory of this Cavs team and you're comparing them to Boston, which you need to, not just in the East, but for the whole thing, where are they most deficient? So what's your wish list of adds to this team to make them more competitive against the Celtics?
It is a bigger wing from a defensive standpoint.
Check.
Which he does fit.
Yep.
And that's really, you want another more depth in the front court. I don't trust Tristan Thompson as your backup big and in the playoffs.
Yeah, that
most
could
likely
become
be
an
Dean
issue.
Wade
I thought that too.
Niang, one of those two.
Yep.
And we saw what Niang did in the playoffs last year.
Terrible last year in the playoffs.
He was much better this year, but in the playoffs was unplayable. And Dean Wade, will be healthy? I have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
To be honest with you, I was having a conversation with someone who we have good basketball.
I always remember when Kirby Smart lost the national championship game to Alabama, I think it was.
Yeah, Tua,
yeah, that's right.
I'll never forget, after the game, he told it was Tom Rinaldi. Tom said, what went wrong? Because remember, it was a very close game. He goes, Tom, we lost this game by inches in a couple of different big spots. That's heartbreaking today. But the good news moving forward is those inches to improve are everywhere. Everywhere. On the line.
You're like Al Pacino over here in Any Given Sunday.
Kind of.
Inches are everywhere.
Yeah, and basically, like if you look at their arc, and when they won, they made up those inches. That's it. That's it. So you've got to ask yourself, if you're the Cavaliers, how are we going to get over the Boston Celtics? What do we currently not have that we will need to get over the Boston Celtics? And you also know that your window, sometimes it might appear to be like, oh, this is a 4-year window. That's not always the case. So you know when you're in the window, you go for it and make the moves that you think will make the difference to get those inches to get that title.
Right.
So I don't know. I do think that they could use a bigger wing. I think he does check that box. But then you have to ask yourself what you lose in Niang. I will say this. Niang was a pig in the playoffs last year. I didn't recognize him.
Can I ask a question? Do we have to make a move? Do we not?
No.
I mean, the question I have is what I'm seeing looks damn good.
We're 1-1 versus Boston, right?
Yeah, I'm not touching anything till we see Strus come back.
Yeah,
I want to see how Strus fits in. I'm not doing anything.
Now, our one win against Boston came when they were missing 2 significant pieces. And we
but
still
the
didn't have
loss
Strus.
to the Celtics, the Cavs were missing 3 of their top bench players. I know it's not the same as Celtics were missing 2 starters. Their second and third best players.
They lost by what, 4?
And also the Cavs' first loss to the Celtics, they were on that run where they had won like 14 in a row or 15 in a row.
That was their first loss of the year.
First loss of the year.
Yeah.
It was on the road, and they had all that going. I don't know.
I think if you were just sitting here and we had to take truth serum, I think most Cavs fans would be like, yeah, Boston's just a little bit better.
They are.
They are.
Yeah. What's wrong with saying that?
No,
they're defending champs.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean the Cavs can't beat them. It means the Celtics should be the favorite.
They absolutely should be the favorite.
If they were playing,
The NBA runs through Boston right now.
yeah, if they were playing, I would say the Celtics would win that series 4-3. Now, if the Cavs had home field advantage and home court and were completely healthy, I could see that as being a toss-up.
G, let me ask you one question before we move on. If the Cavs had Dorian Finney-Smith, does that change how you look at the series?
No.
And that's kind of where I was getting to with the whole thing. I just don't think he's a game changer that changes how you look at the big picture ceiling of the Cavs. And the reality is they may not have the assets to get someone who does change that.
Right.
And to Dustin's point, they may not have to get somebody to change that.
Somebody could develop and step into that
I
role.
mean, if they're playing this good without Max Strus, who was going to be a starter, maybe they're going to be even better with him.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
All right, let's get to our last topic of the day. 2 reads. First, it is that time of the year. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever before, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT's coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup between SMU and Penn State. That game's at noon, then Clemson looks to upset Texas in a showdown starting at 4 p.m. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. This next segment's also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps with Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Prize Picks invented the flex play, meaning you can cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if you miss one of your picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. Before I tell you what this next topic is, I called Bull yesterday to make sure he was okay with doing this topic. He gave me the thumbs up on it. We had to do it when Jay was in. I've been saving this for a day that you both were on set.
Asking if I was okay with it?
He knew you'd would.
I know you'd be okay doing this topic. This has been floating around on social media.
I've been waiting to do this topic all year.
We have put on our community tab on the YouTube page this poll. Yeah. It has over 2,000 votes. So I'm going to give you the results of the poll at the end. I want to see if what the community over 2,000 votes matches what you guys think. But the question is, where would the Browns be today? And we're looking at the 3-year period. If they had never moved on from Baker Mayfield, which means Deshaun Watson and that whole trade would never have happened, where would the Browns be? Just so you guys understand what I put on YouTube, the 4 options were win a Super Bowl, have multiple playoff wins, have just 1 playoff win, or have no playoff wins, which is their current status. You can take it wherever you want, but where would the Browns be right now?
Who would you like to start this? One end of the spectrum or the
other?
other?
Go ahead. Let's start with Jay.
Yeah.
Let's go around the horn, Jay, and we'll make our way down the board.
I couldn't get to 2 playoff wins because he's only been gone for
3
years. This is his 3rd season. So there would have only been 2 playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I could go with he would have taken the team to the playoffs in each of those 2 years and won at least 1 playoff game. But I feel very, very comfortable in saying they'd have at least 1 playoff win. And here's part of that equation. It's not, you can't, to truly answer this question, you can't just say, well, let's take Deshaun Watson out and put Baker Mayfield in. To truly answer this question, you have to do this. We're going to put Baker Mayfield back. We're going to put 3 first-round draft picks back onto the roster that the Browns currently don't have, that the Texans do. You're going to take 3 other draft picks, all within the 4th round. So you're adding 6 new
I don't think it was
picks.
6. Was it 6?
It was 6, but we gave up a pick also. So it ended up being a net gain of 5 for
Okay.
Houston, but we got a 6th round pick back.
Okay.
I mean, what'd we do with that player? He's probably selling insurance right now. So it's not just a Baker for Deshaun, which, by the way, would have been a plus sum anyhow. That would have been a gain. It would have been Baker and 3 first-round draft picks and 3 more draft picks that would have been selected 4th round or earlier. So that is certainly enough to make a difference. Remember, Baker last year, with a team that was predicted to win 5 games by most experts before the season, took them to the playoffs, won a playoff game, and had Detroit on the ropes at Detroit in their playoff loss. So it's not too much to expect that he would have won at least 1 playoff game over the last 2 years. This team, with bad quarterbacking and all kinds of quarterbacking last year, made it to the playoffs. So I got at least 1.
So can you give me the options again? 2 playoff wins, 1 playoff win, and what else?
No playoff wins or Super Bowl.
For me, it would probably be somewhere in between. I would go with 1 playoff win, and I rationalize it like this. So Baker gets hurt, and then he comes back. You look at what he did in Carolina. He didn't play well there, but the Browns team would have probably had a better roster around here than the Carolina Panthers. So I don't think he would have struggled that much. There was a time where he was in Carolina. He was with the Rams. He struggled in those 2 cities or whatever the case may be, but you have to take into consideration those are new offenses and he's getting used to new people. And again, the roster isn't going to be as good as it probably would have been if they were building it in Cleveland. However, I do think that because he had those issues with those 2 teams and he was on the verge of being out of the league, I think he changed his mindset in the way he went and approached the game. I think he's a much better player in terms of the way he thinks about the game, his decision making. He's still prone to interceptions, but I think that changed him a little bit as well. And plus, on top of it, I think that the weapons he has, to a certain extent, are very helpful. They have a nice left tackle. They got 2 good receivers. They got guys that know how to play the game. They
have 1 good receiver right now.
Well,
with Godwin being out.
Godwin's out, but Godwin.
Evans is a Hall of Fame receiver.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame. And Godwin played last year, some form. So
no, he did. Yeah.
So I would say he would probably end up with 1 playoff win. I can't go to 2 because I think he'd have been getting back to what he wanted to do and coming back off the injury, and I think he would have been a little bit
So we're in the same spot.
But he probably would have 1 playoff win.
Yeah, I would say I have a playoff win. I actually would probably say 2 playoff wins.
I couldn't get there, but I was close.
Yeah, and it's partly because I see what he's done.
Now, if you would have thrown this year in, so you would have 3 seasons with a guy who knows the system, because remember, the one thing that's been constant about Baker Mayfield is change.
Yeah.
Look at the number of coordinators he's had, more than he's been years in the league. So I think that you would have been more familiar with Kevin Stefanski's team, and the thought is that he'd be better in year 2, be better in year 3, provided that he was healthy.
Yeah, I think that first off, I was wrong about Baker. Did
you want him out?
I did.
I didn't know
that.
And
and I was overly critical at the time because he didn't perform well, and I thought his attitude was poor.
That's true, though.
Yeah, that was true.
It was. Yeah. But with me saying that, and all that I think was true, but I think his performance was based a lot more off of the injury than I really wanted to lend merit to.
I think that is
okay. And because when he came back from the injury, it looks like the guy that we drafted. The guy that was you watched that game against Georgia, the semifinals, before you mentioned that Georgia lost the final. But the point is, Baker's a hell of a player. Is he a top 5 player in the league at quarterback? Probably not.
I don't have him top 5.
But it doesn't matter because you don't have to
be
to win games and to win playoff games.
You can win a Super Bowl without a top 5 quarterback.
He's a good enough quarterback, I think, to win a Super Bowl with. I think he's as good. Like, if you're the Lions, you feel like you have a quarterback that can get. I mean, he's already been to one. And Jared Goff, I think that Baker can do what Goff is doing, somewhat similar. I mean, Goff has way better weapons than Baker in Tampa Bay. He's throwing to Cade Otton.
Yeah.
He's not a bad player.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's a fine player, but he's not.
You know what's developed in this
St.
year
Brown.
in Tampa that's really helped Baker is a run game.
Yeah.
Bucky's running
Bucky
wild. And I think Baker's really benefited from that.
So, with that being said, I think Baker would probably win a game or two in the playoffs here. I think I said 2, but the other thing I would say is I don't know if Baker's mental game, if he'd be as humble
right
now. And so that to me
is the catalyst.
That's the immeasurable. That's the immeasurable.
It's an intangible.
I do think that he was humbled and being shipped around like a baseball
the
hat.
Carolina thing,
4 teams in 4 years.
Yeah.
That can humble a guy. Actually, 4 teams in 3 years.
No question.
So I think that helped him grow up.
I told my buddy the other day who loved Baker when he was here. I'm like, dude, you got to go watch a post-game press conference with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it's different.
Just go look one up. Go on YouTube, find one,
Different.
and just listen to him talk.
Yeah.
It's a different guy.
Yeah.
It is amazing how off you guys are. The Browns would have won at least 3 playoff games right now and would be winning more this year. I don't know where you guys are talking about these 1 playoff wins.
Well, it's only been 2 years, Bull.
I know that, but they would have won way more playoffs than just 1 game.
Where do you see that at?
Are you being sarcastic?
No, because C.J. Stroud would be the quarterback of the Browns had they not traded for Deshaun Watson. Forget Baker. Baker would have played out his 5th year here. He would have walked off into the sunset, maybe signed with the Bucs, maybe signed with the Raiders. I don't know. The Browns, like the Texans, the Browns would have had a high draft pick because they wouldn't have been very good in 22 as they weren't in 21. They would have been traded up for C.J. Stroud and would have drafted C.J. Stroud.
So he had,
and he would have won multiple playoff games because the Browns had a
pony for Christmas.
Well, we're all just guessing, though. Why is mine any different?
Your guess didn't just include him being on the Browns. It included him sucking for 2 years and then us trading up to draft for C.J. Stroud.
I don't know that they would have had to trade up, but they
C.J.
could have.
Stroud is how many years in the NFL?
This is his second year.
Okay, so you're saying that he would have won 3 games last year.
Exaggerating on the playoff games.
He would have won the Super Bowl.
I was trying to make you think I was saying Baker was going to win those playoff games.
That's why he said, are you being sarcastic?
I was exaggerating. But no, I think they very well could have had C.J. Stroud. I think Baker would have played here 1 more year. Baker had a terrible attitude after that last season. First of all, it's revisionist history. Yes, the trade turned into a disaster. At the time of the trade, Dustin, you can apologize all you want. At the time of the trade, Deshaun Watson was a way better quarterback than Baker Mayfield.
I remember.
And nobody could debate that.
Bull, I don't even think that was the debate then. That's not why I hated the trade. I hated the trade for the assets that we were giving up.
Mm-hmm.
But
so here's what, Bull, it can't just be he's a little bit better or even a lot better.
Yeah.
He has to be better than Baker Mayfield, 3 first-round draft picks, and 3 more draft picks that are better than the 4th round.
At the time, the trade made total sense.
It didn't.
Well, it didn't work out.
It didn't make total sense at the time, and it doesn't make total sense now.
It made total sense at the time because they felt like they needed an elite quarterback. You say you could win without an elite quarterback.
Here's why it makes
How
sense.
How many teams have won without an elite quarterback recently?
Still, you're going to be without 3 first-round draft picks for the next 3 years. It doesn't matter?
No, not if they would have hit.
He was seen as a top 3 quarterback.
So here's what I think Bull's trying to
I never had him as a top 3, ever.
Okay, but the league did.
I don't know that the league had him as a top 3.
I think that Browns fans, the Browns front office, Andrew Berry, Haslam, you, me, and most other fans thought that Deshaun Watson was the cheat code.
Yes.
It was the game shark. Remember the game shark back in the day? Yeah. That was what Deshaun Watson was going to be. It was going to be this easy way out. It was going to be hit the easy button, and now we're going to buy some wins, baby.
Yeah, but what's the saying? Every time you think there's an easy way and a shortcut, it never works out that way.
Exactly, and we were wrong.
Well,
but in the moment, to the point when we sorry.
Yeah,
no,
go ahead.
Go
ahead.
In the moment, the picks didn't matter. It was irrelevant because we got the player. It was like this player's going to make us win. And we were all hoodwinked.
We didn't have a lot of history of the picks not mattering, but we did have one test case in Herschel Walker. Picks matter. Picks didn't matter.
That's for a running back.
It doesn't matter. You're still giving up picks. It doesn't matter what you're getting. It matters what you're giving up.
So right now, if the Bills offered Josh Allen for 5 first-round picks, you wouldn't do it?
No, I would not do it. I'm sorry. I would for 5 first-round draft picks.
5 first-round picks, I would do it.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
If you ask me, Josh Allen for 3 first-round picks.
Wait, no, 3?
Yeah, this is Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, he has 5.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
take my next 5 drafts.
See, here's the problem with that. I also there is a little bit more of a test case because once upon a time Mike Ditka said, "Take my whole draft, give me Ricky Williams."
Another running back.
That's a bad comparison. Those are for running backs.
It's all we have historically. We don't have a lot of these, but what we have is now. You're right. It wasn't for elite quarterbacking play, but let's face it. At the time, running backs were the build around
they weren't
piece.
worth what a quarterback's worth now.
No, they're not. But at the time, they were the build around piece. Clearly,
But Jay,
Mike Ditka was a smart football guy. He said, "Take it all."
What do you say to the people that say, "Listen, Jay, that's great. These are lottery picks. These are lottery tickets." And the Cleveland Browns got multiple picks in the first round, and they swing and miss. I've seen Deshaun Watson play. I've seen him throw for his yards. I've seen him go to the top 10. This is something we have put our eyes on versus something that is a mythical thing that we've seen the Cleveland Browns miss on quarterbacks for 30 years. Don't you think people would be excited to see somebody that is a proven commodity and everyone thinks
no question about it? I said at the time, this move will energize the fan base, and that's it. And that's what it did. And to the point of draft picks not mattering, I don't know when that became a thing, but
they do.
To the point of draft picks not mattering, you're going to extrapolate out 5 years, you're going to put Josh Allen on a football team that doesn't have a first-round draft pick. That's really hard to win that way. Football is a quarterback game, but it's also a team game. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They've got the cheat code. They're 6-8. They got a terrible defense.
It's one season,
and they didn't have to mortgage their future of giving a lot. They just did it out of pure incompetence. They forgot that you got to build a defense too. It's a team sport, and all I'm saying is,
but you're using one example. The Bengals had been, Burrow got hurt last year. They still finished over 500.
Yeah.
And the 3 years before that, they went to the playoffs with
him. They were in the Super Bowl.
Sure, listen.
Yeah.
And he was asked, how long is the window open? His response was, as long as I'm on the team.
And he's right.
He's right.
He might want that back right now.
No, he's right.
Because he's on the team this year, and their Super Bowl window isn't open.
You don't go to the Super Bowl every year, Jay.
Listen, I know you don't, but you also don't want to take a step back that's 6-8.
Let me ask you this, Jay.
Their defense is flawed.
Jay, let me ask you this. If the Bengals somehow grab the last playoff spot.
Possible.
Okay.
Extremely possible. They've got a favorable schedule.
Okay. Now, but they still need either the Chargers or Broncos to lose all their games, one of the two, which is probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if they make the playoffs,
yes.
Who would you pick? Who do you think's got a better chance of winning the Super Bowl, the Bengals or the Steelers?
Steelers.
I think the Bengals easy.
No, the Bengals defense is absolute garbage.
But
it's got.
Who are they going to stop?
It doesn't matter. The Steelers.
It doesn't matter.
The Steelers can't keep up with the other great offenses.
It doesn't matter in the playoffs. I've seen
it. It does matter in the playoffs because the Steelers haven't won squat.
Yeah, but Bull, when the playoffs come around, particularly if you're hosting games like Pittsburgh will be, if you're hosting a game and you get a weather game, now this is exactly what you live for. Your team is built for that. Whoever comes in here may not be built for that.
Steelers have had a great defense for a decade. They haven't won anything. They haven't won anything.
Listen,
the Bengals play in Ohio. They don't play in Florida.
I love the Bengals offense. I love them. Yeah. But their defense is putrid.
It
is bad. It's a little.
Defense in an offseason.
It's actually a little better right now than it was earlier in the season. It's still bad.
Their defense was, I thought, great 2 years ago. I did. I thought they had an up-and-coming defensive coordinator, and I was nervous. I said, "Oh my God, when are the Browns going to be able to compete in this division?"
But here's my point: is that as a Bengals fan, and it's been a shit franchise like the Browns.
Right, it has.
But right now, as a Bengals fan, you always feel like you have a chance to win.
You do.
Because
You have
Joe
much
Burrow.
more of a chance than we do.
Even though it's been a disappointing season.
Here's the difference, Bull.
Yeah.
To get them, all they had to do was colossally suck 1 year.
I got you. But in the end,
they didn't have to say take the next 3 first-round draft picks.
And that's not ideal, obviously. But in the end, you would, if Deshaun Watson had played here, which he couldn't have played worse than he has.
Right.
If he had played here like he did in Houston, we wouldn't have cared about those first round
picks. So let's judge the talent on this football team right now. That's a good point. Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Let's judge the talent on this football team right now, minus the quarterback. Let's judge it. Defense, where are we?
Well, today it looks a lot different, but all of a sudden, like before the season began, everyone was writing about the Browns like this roster.
I know, but here's the problem.
God.
Here's the problem with that. Everybody in Cleveland was saying that.
No.
We discussed on this show, why is the national media not in on the Browns?
Because the quarterback.
Week after week we said, wow, CBS Sports has the Browns ranked 14th.
Because of quarterback.
Right, but
everybody naturally was saying the Browns have a great roster besides the quarterback.
And what I'm saying is, everybody said this year, well, it's all on to Shaun Watson.
Right.
We've got everything else.
Yeah.
Fact is, we don't. The fact is, the talent level on this football team is below average.
I don't agree with that.
They've got 3 wins.
It's
below average. Defense is a head scratcher. How did this defense perform so well last year?
That's what happened. That's why you build by the quarterback and not a defense. Well, because defenses are up and down.
Here's the problem. We talked about this too, even earlier on Monday this week. We talked about, well, this is the thing with the Jim Schwartz defense. Houston exposed it with the misdirection, and what's the game plan?
Well,
what
Jim Schwartz has been in the league forever. He's
never had sustained success.
Is that true? I'm not sure.
Well, where has he been? I don't know. Look at his resume.
Then why is he such a genius and keep getting jobs?
He's a genius because he comes in and shakes things up, and I think installs a new defense that works momentarily. But there's an answer to what he does.
I don't know.
I just think when you look at it, you can say these picks and you can tremendously value these picks, but you got to understand. I've been here when they had 2 first-round picks and took Cam Irving and
Justin Gilbert and Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel.
So
we don't know. Listen,
you're right.
Those picks.
In fact, if you're going to make an assumption, you'd have to make an assumption that the Browns would have screwed those picks up.
Yes, at least a couple of them.
But you know what? I think I would rather have screwed up first-round picks than no picks.
I will never blame a team for going for it. They went for it. They failed.
And you know what?
They failed.
It's a difference in philosophy. Because I remember at the time you said, you got a chance to get an elite quarterback, you do it no matter what.
That's right.
And I just remember sitting here wide-eyed going, no, you don't.
And I still, even though that trade is looks crazy, but change the names out, and if the Browns had an opportunity to go right back in and do the same thing with the same amount of picks, I would tell them, yes, do it again.
Yes.
If it was Josh Allen,
how
Lamar
many
Jackson,
teams
Joe
in recent
Burrow,
years have won without an elite quarterback?
Pull the trigger.
Not many.
No. Pull the trigger.
Wow. I couldn't.
Because I would tell my coaching staff, it's up to you to develop in the late rounds to find people. Where the Browns mess up is they miss on the top picks and then don't develop any of the secondary picks.
Who's the last, in the last 10 years, is Nick Foles the only non-Hall of Fame quarterback to win a Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, Brady has won, and Mahomes won. What does Mahomes have? 3 now?
3.
Mm-hmm. 3 in the last 4 years?
Yeah.
4?
2 in a row.
Foles
so he's got a nice little
Foles
solid grip on it. You know what's interesting to me
Foles played at an extremely high level in that postseason.
I don't know that Kansas City's going to win it this year. I wouldn't bet on Kansas City to win it. I like Buffalo.
Nobody would have bet him on
Buffalo a lot.
And that's another Hall of Fame quarterback.
I wrote them off last year. A lot of teams did, and they found the switch. That's why do that at your own peril this year. But I still think we all agree, even with the stats and looking at the stats, if it's the 4th quarter of a playoff game and it's late and you're down 3,
you know what it is.
I think 32 general managers and 32 head coaches would say, give me 15.
You know what it is.
I want Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
And so, yes, that's a huge difference. However, I do think that, I said this at the time, got murdered for it. I thought that Deshaun Watson certainly had success in the NFL. The one thing I didn't love about Deshaun Watson's resume when he came here, okay, if he's an elite quarterback, why does his team always suck?
That wasn't true. The 3 years that he played the whole season, they went to the playoffs twice.
How many wins?
That's not what you said. You said that why does his team suck? His team didn't suck.
Listen, we can win a playoff game, and we can not make
the
playoffs.
You just said you're the one. No, you don't suck if you make the playoffs and lose a game.
Are we in it to make the playoffs, or are we in it to win the Super Bowl? Because when we made the trade, you said we're not.
So every team sucks besides the Super Bowl winner.
No,
that's what you're just saying.
If you're going to trade for a quarterback that has a resume, I need something on his resume that shows we've got a lot of team success with this guy.
And they had.
And I also made the point
really good years.
I felt from watching his games, and I did not watch every game. But the games that I watched with Deshaun Watson, many of them, they were down 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, and he was throwing the ball all over the place.
Again, they made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years.
I remember this game vividly when the Browns went to Houston. They had Baker Mayfield, and Deshaun Watson smoked us.
Listen, I'm not saying he didn't smoke teams.
But I'm just saying.
What was his record his last full year in Houston?
Here's what I bad season.
Here's what I just.
Okay, so it's his fault. So I guess Joe Burrow's at fault for the Bengals being 6-8.
No, but it's partly his fault.
No, it's 0 Joe Burrow's fault. 0.
2 things can be true.
No,
yes, Deshaun Watson did not work out. Deshaun Watson didn't work out. but we don't have to minimize the fact that he was at one point in time good.
Let me ask you this.
The last 10 Super Bowls have been won by 9 elite quarterbacks.
What organization would you rather be today? Because this might actually answer the question in the best way.
Yeah.
Houston or Cleveland?
Of course you'd rather Houston. They got Stroud.
Okay.
They got a quarterback.
But they've been a terrible organization, too.
And they got
No, I'm saying right now and moving forward.
Because they got C.J. Stroud.
I'm not measuring this at all on the history of the organization.
Yeah.
I'm measuring it, you can choose right now. You can push a button and everything in Houston comes to Cleveland and everything in Cleveland goes to Houston. 100 out of 100 people are going to tell you, give me Houston. Which organization...
But what does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Which organization is stronger and which organization is weaker after the trade?
Obviously Houston's in better shape.
Okay.
But nobody's arguing that the trade is a good trade now. The majority of people thought it was a smart trade at the time.
Everybody did.
They were wrong.
We were wrong. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody's arguing with that.
So it's okay for those same people to be wrong now. You even said that, the Browns would have sucked and they would have traded Baker and they would have let him go in his last year of his deal. He would have walked.
Yes.
Okay.
They were.
It's okay for you to be wrong on that too.
I could be. We will never know.
We will never know.
We won't. But
now
Baker did suck that year.
What we've seen, the narrative is that he sucked that year.
Yes, he did.
But here's what I watched that year. In the first game of the year, Carolina-Cleveland. Carolina's predicted to win 2 games. The Browns are picked to go to the playoffs.
I love how Jay remembers the predictions of every team in the league and how many games they were predicted to win.
How many games was Carolina?
I don't know.
Come on, before the season started, everybody was saying the same thing. Carolina's got nobody.
And so they didn't win anything with him. They cut him. He was so bad they cut him.
Minus a crescendo moment by a player in his first pro game. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Minus a crescendo moment by a rookie kicker.
Yeah.
Baker beats Cleveland on that game.
Did he play well there, though?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was, this is what I write it off to, I don't know that anybody can be successful in Carolina.
That's ridiculous.
They're a nightmare.
People could have said that about Cincinnati before Burrow.
They're a nightmare.
Cam Newton did all right.
No, to Carolina today.
Well, here's what I'm saying.
I'm not talking about Carolina then.
In that game, he lost to Jacoby Brissett. That wasn't like... Jacoby Brissett in that game.
Let me give you some
had a fourth quarter drive.
Let me give you some bottom lines here. Bottom lines. Whatever would have happened. Whatever would have happened with Baker, the Browns obviously would looking back, would obviously have been in better shape had they not traded for Watson. What would have happened with Baker? Whether Baker would have ended up staying here long term or not, they would have most likely been in better shape either way. Which is obvious now.
But you're right.
Yeah.
But also, part of the factual discussion around this is we're talking about, by your own admission, a transaction that will go down, or at least currently is, the worst in the history of team sports.
I don't know if it's the worst in the history of team sports.
We discussed it one time and you said, I'd have to call it that.
I don't. Maybe I said that. I don't know.
You did, because I tried to
it's certainly one of the worst. I don't know if it matters if it's absolutely number one. Go ahead.
It doesn't. To me, it's the worst ever.
Okay.
Ever. And I'm not alone. Other people have said that too. We're talking about that trade. And the player we gave up is about to win his second straight division title.
Well, that player was not in that trade, so that's not accurate. He wasn't in the trade.
He was the impetus to make that trade.
Because of his poor behavior after the season.
I don't care what it was.
Yeah.
The organization had decided, not you, him.
I blame Baker for the whole thing.
Actually, to be true,
if Baker had not been immature, he probably would have stayed the Browns quarterback.
And according to many sources, Baker refused to talk to the Cleveland Browns.
That's true.
I can't blame him.
Well,
no, before they traded for Watson.
There were discussions about a contract extension between the Browns.
There wasn't.
I'm told there was.
All right.
Have you not heard from other people that covered the team that there was?
No. Why would they have given Baker an extension then?
They were talking about an extension.
It doesn't make any sense.
And the reason that the Browns pulled away from the table was because Baker's team's number was far bigger than they wanted to spend.
At that point, what had Baker done to earn a contract extension?
He set a record for the most touchdown passes ever by a rookie quarterback.
That was 4 years earlier. Well, you've asked me
what he'd done. I'm going to try to tell you.
I mean, that's not enough to get a contract extension.
He broke the longest losing streak in franchise history.
That doesn't get you an extension.
He took the team to the playoffs for the first time in a gajillion years, and won a playoff game for the first time.
None of those are reasons to give a guy an extension.
Well, you asked me what he did. I just told you.
I'm just saying, in my opinion, none of those are reasons to give a guy an extension.
So this guy comes in and breaks all of these longtime franchise nastiness.
Yeah.
And that's not a reason to hold on to him.
Well, you just said unless you win a Super Bowl, you suck. So
No.
That's what you said before.
No. Listen, you can't
didn't
win
do
a Super
anything.
Bowl before you make the playoffs.
Why not? That's not true.
How do you How do you win the Super Bowl without making the playoffs?
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you have to make the playoffs and then another year go to the Super Bowl.
No, what I'm saying is there's
But
steps to it.
Okay.
This was in the...
Do you think Baker will ever win a Super Bowl?
And then we got Super Chats.
I think there's a possibility he could.
All right.
I think if I'm going to list all the quarterbacks right now that have a chance to win a Super Bowl, his name would be on that list.
How many people on that list? 25?
No, probably 12.
You think he's a top 12 quarterback?
I do.
I don't think so.
He's
But
got 3,600 passing yards, over
that's not
30
impressive.
touchdowns.
That's not impressive. 3,600 passing yards is not.
He's got 3 games to play.
Okay,
I mean,
you're saying
he could-
3,600 as if that's 4,600.
No. At the end of the season, it could be
He's
4,500.
also second in the league in interceptions. That's a problem.
It is a problem,
Yes.
and that's why I'm not.
And that's why ultimately he's going to fail when it matters,
But,
in my opinion.
Bull, what I would tell you is they haven't lost since the bye. They figured out how to win without Godwin and Evans. Evans is playing at an all-time Hall of Fame level right now. But when I watch Baker play, he's still maddening for me.
He's very.
But I watched him make throws last week against a team that boat raced us, and we couldn't score against. And I'm watching him dropping dimes, 50 yards, 30 yards, 20, 10.
I thought
Big
last
plays.
week was his most impressive game in a while. Because in the last 2 months, 6 weeks, 7
Really
weeks,
go back to the
he's
injuries.
He's either beaten bad teams or he's not played well.
I
And
agree with that.
He beat a good team in the Chargers, and they needed
Yeah.
that because they do not. They're only a game up on the Falcons in the division, and the Falcons have the tiebreaker. So if they finish tied with the Falcons.
Well, they have one. Don't they have one left with Atlanta?
No, they've played 2. They
Oh,
split.
they did.
The Falcons
Okay.
have the tiebreakers. They have a better division record.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm not. Baker's.
They may not make the playoffs. It's possible.
They might not.
But their schedule.
And by the way, I'll say this:
easy.
if they don't make the playoffs,
They have
now,
Carolina, New Orleans, and somebody else. That
Baker has
winnable.
contributed to their losses at times with his interceptions. However, I think he is a small percentage of the blame. If they don't make the playoffs, it's more that their defense isn't particularly great.
Would you say that he has a 0% chance of ever winning a Super Bowl?
No, I'd never say zero,
Okay.
but
Well, would you get a tattoo of Baker?
I'm not getting a tattoo ever. But I think
Would you get a temporary Baker tattoo on your forearm if they win the Super Bowl?
no tattoos.
No, temporary. It would wash off.
Okay, I got a temporary Baker tattoo. As long as it,
I'm in.
As long as it definitely washes off.
It would wash off. But
I-
listen, the visual of you coming in
Yeah.
after the Super Bowl
With a Baker.
with a Baker tattoo on your forearm
Yeah.
might be one of the best images I
Wow,
ever
man.
see in my life.
And if Baker makes a Super Bowl and loses, Jay, you got to get a Joe Burrow.
Done.
Temporary tattoo.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a permanent.
Now,
not a permanent.
no,
I'm like,
no,
Bull, I'm not putting
I
anything
just
into my
think
body.
Baker, again, he's playing well. He never played this well as he's played in Tampa here. And I'm not kidding. I like Dustin said, I think he had to hit rock bottom to get up.
I agree with that.
And so maybe he would have never played.
You know what we won't know? Because you said this earlier. What
Yeah.
we won't know is, would something else have precipitated his
Maybe.
maturation?
We don't know. Yeah.
I don't know that either.
I will say that as much as I rail against him, a lot of the reason, like I just thought he was so obnoxious when he was here, and it really rubbed me the wrong way.
Arrogant, obnoxious.
I think the
same
way,
guy that stuck the flag in the in the block.
I think the way he talks now in the press conferences and like I think I don't have those feelings about him anymore. Like I think he really
He's
has
a lot more
matured.
likable. He's a lot more likable.
He's more likable. I do have respect for him. I think he's definitely a starting quarterback. As much as I was down on him, I never thought he was not one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Now, I think he's a little higher than I thought he was going to be because he's played in Tampa. I still don't buy over the years that he's a top 12
How old is
quarterback.
Baker?
He's
29?
been in the league for what, 7 years?
This is his
No.
Is
seventh.
it 2018?
Yeah,
draft?
7th year. This is his
7th year in the
year.
league.
Okay, let me
And
ask
he's
you
about
this.
to go to the playoffs almost half of the years he's been in the league.
Be his third
This is
trip.
third.
Third out of
yeah.
7.
Let me ask you this, Bull.
Yeah.
Not
Because
bad.
somebody asked me this
He
in
spent a lot
Tampa.
of those years in Cleveland.
He did.
I had a media friend call me and say, what should we expect from Baker? And I said, everything. And they laughed. They said, what does that mean? And I said, some days he'll be in a great mood. Other days he'll be in a shitty and attacking mood. He will come after you guys.
Yeah.
He will, when things are going well, you're going to love him. But when things hit rock bottom, you're going to hate him. Because that's how his moods run.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's driven by winning. He's motivated. He loves the chip on his shoulder. He loves it. But what to expect, I think, in general, is a really immature guy. This same person had a conversation with me about week 6 this year when things were looking better for them. It was right either before or at the time of the Godwin and Evans injuries.
Yeah.
When I thought at that point they're not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
We were having another conversation about him. He goes, you know what, I got to tell you, I'm not seeing the Baker you saw.
No.
And I said, okay, tell me what you're seeing. And he explained it. And then he answered my question with an answer of his own, or a question with his own. He said, Jay, I want you to go back when you were 23 years old. What was 23-year-old Jay Crawford like, and how is he different from 28 or 29-year-old Jay Crawford? And I said, wow.
Sure. That's true.
Me personally, I was 15 when I was 23.
That's
and when I was 29, I was probably 22.
Now, that's true.
I was wildly immature.
But you could say that about any quarterback, and a lot weren't as immature.
And people.
So in his defense, last thing, I know I've talked a lot. In his defense, obviously there's some wacky stuff going on with his family that has affected him.
And stuff we didn't even know about at the time it was going on.
Yeah.
So
that's a fair point to bring up.
Since we are so forgiving and we understand that people get better, does Deshaun Watson have that opportunity?
Bring him back.
No, listen, that's why I asked the question earlier, are we robbing him of an opportunity? And I'm not advocating for bringing him back. Under no circumstances do I want any more of that.
You want him to get better on somebody else's own time.
Here's the thing. What he is trying to overcome is a slight erosion of his skills, a lot of critical injuries to his most important parts. Shoulder,
two of the most devastating injuries.
Yes, that a quarterback can have.
Not just any human being.
A quarterback in the right shoulder socket.
And Baker had
that
so
for
it's
sure.
And by the way, that's not the top of the list. What he's trying to overcome, he's trying to overcome what he believes to be an unfair lynching by the media and by the fan base. In his mind, it's unfair. I'm not saying it's unfair. He believes it's unfair.
Someone say that Tony Busby's his whole reputation has been sullied a little bit.
Listen, his stock is going down.
Did we ever think highly of Tony Busby?
He's been going after a lot of people.
If there was a red arrow or a green arrow next to someone's reputation,
I mean,
the arrow next to his right now is huge red and it's going down.
Sure.
And
one other big
difference. This is the guy who literally derailed the career of a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the NFL. Left him in shambles. And so I think everybody does deserve a redemption story.
Yeah.
But
I just don't want it to be here.
There's another big
last point.
Big distinction between, besides the off the field stuff between Baker and Deshaun, is that Baker was bad for 2 seasons. Deshaun missed the season and has been bad for 3 seasons since then.
Right.
So by next year it'll be 5 years since he was good, and he's older. So no.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
At some point, that kept Colin Kaepernick from ever getting another chance. That and the fact
he was blackballed. But
for the first couple years, he was blackballed. Then there were teams open to the idea.
Right.
But the
it was too late at
conversation
that
turned
point.
to what you just said. Well, God, it's been 5 years, 6 years since he's done anything.
Yeah.
And then it's too risky.
All right, let's get to some Super Chats. Guys, Super Chat today brought to us by Hillsdale College. History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study these things in school? Probably not, or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed the basic fundamental truths about the world and our place in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Introduction to Market Economics and the Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, Super Chats. First one comes from our guy Daryl, who says Stefanski looks like J.B. Bickerstaff with his arms folded, looking befuddled the entire game, making no in-game adjustments. Good riddance, Kevin.
Whoa.
Brody's bottom line says Jeremy Grant from Portland. He makes a ton of money. You'd have to give up way too much. I don't think the Cavs would have any interest in that. Ray Smith said the Warriors didn't trade. The Celtics speculated about trading Tatum or Brown. Both stayed the course to championships. The Cavs are fine. # let them cook. Ray Smith also says let's trade KeyBank Tower, Burke Airport, and the Soldier Memorial, and a pack of juicy fruit to Tampa Bay for Baker.
You don't the Memorial?
I can't give up the juicy fruit.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Brody's bottom line says Houston picked CJ with its own pick, not the Browns pick. They used
I'm aware of
Browns.
that.
No, we never. No,
I wasn't saying
never
that
said
it was the Browns pick.
Yeah, they
I know
used
that.
the Browns pick to help trade up for Will Anderson.
I was
they
mostly
did.
just ball busting
Yeah.
that conversation. But go ahead.
Thomas
I
Howard.
knew you were going somewhere.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
didn't know where you were going.
Thomas Howard says we want Easton Stick. He's the future at quarterback.
It is an all-time great name.
I'd rather have an
He's
Easton.
still in the league?
Yeah, I think he's still the Chargers
I
backup.
think he's a
think he's the
backup
backup.
somewhere. We mentioned
Two
somebody
more.
earlier today, and I went, "Where's Garoppolo?"
He's out of the league, I think.
I don't
No,
know.
he's a backup for the Rams.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I forgot that.
I'm pretty sure. Two more.
Stafford
Charles
goes
T
down.
says, Jay took the goalpost and ran it all around the set. Watson goes to the playoffs twice. He stinks. Baker goes twice. You have to get there first before the Super Bowl. And then Evan409 says, Baker has 3 wins against double-digit win teams since the Pittsburgh playoff win. Deshaun has 2 since coming to Cleveland.
You can't determine who you play against. He's in a crappy division. I'll give you that. But I watched him against the Chargers, who I had as a
He
good
played well
team.
in that game, yeah.
And I have the Chargers with a really good defense.
Yeah, I thought the Chargers were going to win that game.
I
and they got their ass
thought
kicked.
Baker had no chance.
Yeah, they got
I
their
thought
ass
Baker had no chance.
And that's our
they
show.
boat raced the Chargers.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Peace.
Later. Y'all got 15 whole minutes.